Okay, we're back. Hola. Hola, muchachos. Estamos, or bienvenidos, really. All right. So we're waiting for the people to come back from lunch. And, I was kind of showing it earlier a little bit, but the wonders of having a pet. This dog chewed up and ate. I don't know if I have insurance on this or not. I have to look it up. I don't even know if they cover that. Bruh. This is a WXM, I think fours or the fives. I don't know. Let me see. I think it's like $400 or something. Chewed it up like a toy. I don't know if these are the XM5s. I think I bought it from Best Buy. I have to look. It's either the 4 or the 5. Chewed it up. And so I ended up getting rid of the dog. I'm just kidding. I didn't get rid of the dog. Bro, they would kill. How dare you? Oh my God. Oh, it'd be a riot and everything. Let me see. Sony. I shouldn't have left it on the floor. I mean, sometimes with the second setup that I have with the MacBook, there's all these cords kind of hanging on the floor because I wanted like this mobile setup type of thing where I can move it around. No, I don't see here. Maybe it was Amazon. If it was Amazon, I definitely don't have any kind of coverage on it. What happened? Who's in the chat trolling? Oh, I don't know. I don't know if I want to get another pair like that just to have it chewed again. Make no sense. I was thinking about this case too, bro. They're WXM5s. Oh my God, I got them March 2023. $400. Well, at least that's what they are now. I don't know if they were at that at the time. I think honestly, I'm just gonna get some regular headphones for that page. I don't think I need this hanging on the floor like with a $40 thing in the meantime. Chew toy now. Oh, there's a spray. There's a spray you can buy. I was seriously gonna pull out of this trial. I almost was, and I even stopped for like a day or two. You guys have been watching with me every day. You would see, and I got pulled back in because of, I don't know if I want to say drama, but just a lot of people kind of disagreeing, and the constant crap that's around the trial. This is probably, I think, my lowest viewed, lowest earned trial. So I wasn't gonna come back. I was like, I could just go do whatever, an hour and earn more in 4 hours, 8 hours, whatever. But I'm like, no. Now we gotta stick this shit out of the principle of it. Because I want to see at the very end, when we get to the very end, what the verdict is going to be. And I want to have been there for the ride, the traumatic ride, for the outcome, for the verdict, and then see what people say after. Just stuck in this shit now. That's why I said earlier in the chat, it's like a LSD trip you're trying to get out of. You want it to end. Oh, there's no ending until the acid tells you it's over. So you're just stuck in the shit. No, it was Fred. Fred bit through it. Ricky actually doesn't have a tendency to do that. Fred has this like tendency to like just find stuff and start gnawing on it. Too bad. This is really nice. I mean, maybe I should try plugging it in. I don't know if he actually got into the wires. Maybe I could tape it. Hold on. You guys think this is salvageable? Hold on, let me bring it up close. I can't even. Maybe I'm messing it up. Let's try like this. Maybe he didn't break through the wires. I could get somebody to. Maybe I can tape it back, or have somebody just put a piece of wood on there and like a leg brace or something. The wires might not have actually been broken through all the way. I might have to do a test and see. So I think we're the people that have been here and been here daily. We're kind of invested in this shit now. So we're gonna ride this out. I just hope this is done. I mean, I can't even believe I woke up today. One of the first things I said was like, "Yo, it's like June 17. What happened? Like, what the hell?" I think we started this. Was it March, April? I was like, where did time go? And the Alex Baldwin trial, I think, is July something. So hopefully this will be done by then or almost done. So we can do that. And there was something else too. Oh my God, the sentencing. When is the sentencing? TikTok star. I forgot. That's the end of this month. We didn't miss it, right? I don't know what his name is. TikTok star. TikTok star. No. Oh, maybe June 29. Alexa, what's on the schedule?
Mel, here is your next event.
Oh.
On Friday, June 28th at 9 a.m., there's TikTok star sentencing.
Okay, we're good. June 28th. Well, Perry, that's true. That's one of the reasons. She said the reason you have low trial numbers is because you have so many YouTubers covering this trial. That's true. And I think a lot of those YouTubers also have been covering this for a while. So I think they have that audience. Because even with that story that barely anybody knew, Marcelo Botello had more views.
Thank you. Maybe see the code back and stuff.
Yeah, this chick just tweeted out. Let me see this tweet. These people were replying from like tweets days ago. She said, "I really hope every guilty, dirty party involved and all of their fans somehow become physically unable to walk anywhere ever again. Hashtag dirty cop lover." Yo!
Okay, whenever you're ready, Mr. Lally.
You are, may I approach?
Yes.
Start showing you another document.
Thank you.
That?
I do, yes.
And what do you recognize that to be?
This is the entire Google URL that was found on the browser state record.
Oh Mama.
So broken down into each of its important sections.
May I approach again, Your Honor?
Yes.
I'm going to take this to the next exhibit.
Okay.
Same objection as before, Your Honor.
Okay, there are a couple of different objections. I need to see you, Tyler. I don't know what you're talking about.
Uh-oh. Mustard Mama, thank you so much for the 20 membership. Oh, my sound's not working again. Why is it not working? Oh, that's in the wrong place here. Let's try closing it and opening it. Thank you, Mustard Mama. Mr. Lally. Oh, hell no! Thank you, Mustard. Let's see if I can fix this. Get you on the screen. Amazing. Yo, for the new members, make sure you check out the front page. There's members' videos and live streams. And more coming. Oh, Tiffany, thanks for becoming a member. Or if that's all the people in the chat becoming members now. Forced to be members. That's a lot of people. Holy crap. Thank you, Mustard. I should, yeah.
You are unmuted.
That will be the next exhibit.
Exhibit 618.
Thank you.
True, Crystal.
Yes.
Thank you.
Publish it for the jury.
Yes.
Now, Mr. Whitman, what's up on the screen now, is that what you have before you at Exhibit 618?
It is yes.
And if you could, again, using the laser pointer, direct the jury's attention to what are we looking at in Exhibit 618?
Okay, so the left side of the table is the entire URL that was recovered from the browser state record. What I've done is broken it down into each of its individual components and explained what each of those components means. So the very first row is google.com/search. That just tells the browser that we're going to the Google website and that we want to run a search. The second part, the Q equals, is telling the browser what the query term is. So the query term here is host long to dying cold.
Yes, you guys
The
are
little
right.
plus symbols in between is in place of a space because spaces can't be part of a URL. Next, we have the input encoding and the output encoding. Just explains what kind of characters to use and what language to use when you're accepting the search query and giving it back to the user. And finally, the important part is the and client equals Safari. This is something that just tells Google that this query is being done using the Safari client. Again, if I was to use Safari and just visit the Google webpage and type that in, or type a search in, that part of the string wouldn't be there. That's only there because I used the Safari search bar as part of the Safari application to do that search.
Thanks, sir. Ms. Gilman, you can take that time. Now, sir, with reference to that, what, if any, relationship does that have to the information you were discussing just prior to the break?
Again, that confirms that this search was conducted via the Safari search bar feature that's part of the Safari browser application, the same one that caused the records to be recorded in the plist.
Your Honor, may I approach the witness again?
Yes.
It's just confirming, I guess, the browser Safari that she was using. Mama's love. I need to get a mom. Oh, I mean, I have a picture for the thing, but I need a sound effect.
To another document. Do you recognize that, sir?
I do, yes.
And what do you recognize that?
This is the live records from the browser state.db database.
May I approach, Your Honor?
Yes.
I'm Walter Seeks to introduce the witness. Move judgment.
All right, thank you.
Exhibit 619.
May I return to the witness?
Thank you.
Minutes published after the jury as well, Your Honor.
Yes.
And Mr. Whitman, do you recognize what's up on the screen now is what you have before you as Exhibit 619?
I do, yes.
Now, turning back to the browser DB database for this particular device, with regards to the timestamp and the last view time, what, if anything, do you observe and reference that depicted in this, and could you direct the jury's attention to it?
Yeah, so this timestamp is the last viewed time according to the database itself. It's already been offset so that it's in local time. This particular table, we can see there are records missing. Between records 4025 and 4031, we have, 4025 and 4031, we have 4026, 27, 28, 29, and 30 missing. And typically the timestamps that we do have here, some of them are separated by as little as a second or two.
Now, with reference to the house long to die in cold, that was record 4028, is that correct?
That's correct.
And so based on the records missing from this portion of the phone as far as that database, what, if anything, did you endeavor to do with respect to ascertaining what?
So first of all, the task was to try to recover the deleted messages. The deleted history records from browser state. So first of all, was reading the deleted pages, essentially, to find the records that had been deleted from this current version of the page.
May I approach again, Your Honor?
Yes.
Sir, I'm sure there's another document. I'll ask you to do that. Couple minutes.
Yes,
And do you recognize that document, sir?
I do, yes.
So what do you recognize that to be?
This is the same data source, so it's still browserstate.db, but now looking at it with the unique recovered records.
And what is that last term that you use? What does that mean? I'm sorry.
So typically there can be lots of different versions of a page within a WAL file. So you may have several page ones, several page twos, and so on. What I looked at is doing is recovering the data where the records that I recover are different from each other. So if I recover the same record multiple times, I can ignore it, but if I recover the same record with a slight change, then I would show it in this view.
May I approach, John?
Yes.
I'll seek to introduce in a minute. Full objection.
Okay. It's 6:20.
With court's permission, may I publish that for the jury?
Yes.
Again, Mr. Whitman, if you could, move the way forward to find it helpful to direct the jury's attention to what are we looking at here and what, if anything, did you uncover during this portion of your analysis?
Yes. So again, the very first column on the left is the unique identifying number. You'll notice that there are some numbers here which are repeated. This is, as I said, because the records are recovered from multiple versions of the same page. There was actually 16 versions of this record across 23 different versions of this particular page. These three had some difference. Primarily, it was what's called the tab order field, but that's the only difference that showed up across these three host long to die in the cold records. All the rest show the same URL, the same ID number at the beginning, or tab ID number, and the same timestamp. Worth noting, there is no title shown in this particular record. Again, that speaks to the fact that this page didn't successfully complete loading. Otherwise, there would be a title of Google search, host long to die in the cold, as you saw on some of the other examples earlier.
Now, sir, with respect to the table up here, is there any indication in regard to private browsing that you were talking about before?
No, in iOS 15, as I mentioned, if you are using private browsing mode, there is no records recorded in this database at all.
So the fact that that's not listed in this table, what, if anything, does that tell you?
Everything that was recorded in this database was conducted not in private browsing mode.
Now, with respect to your work within your field, are you familiar with a term called a session?
Yes.
And can you explain to the jury what you want to understand that term to mean and how it applies to this specific instance?
Essentially the life of the particular tab. So when I start a tab and I start to use navigation, I go to different websites. All of my navigation events would be considered part of the same browsing session, essentially.
Now, sir, if I could turn your attention to the knowledge C database for a moment. And again, if you could, maybe bear repeating, just as far as, can you explain to the jury what you understand that term to mean as far as what is the knowledge C database in respect to the other databases you've been talking about?
Yeah, so far the bulk of what we've discussed, the history.db, the browser state DB, and mobile safari.plist are all particular to the Safari application on iOS. Knowledge C is much more global. It's much more ingrained within iOS. Everything is essentially recorded in there on iOS 15. So again, backlight activity, unlock activity, application state activity, and web usage activity is all recorded as part of Knowledge C.
May I approach you, Your Honor?
Yes.
Lally.
We'll do another document. We can just do that for a couple of minutes.
Oh, Lally.
Yes,
And do you recognize that document, sir?
I do, yes.
What do you recognize that?
This is a document I created based on the Knowledge C web usage records.
May I approach, Your Honor?
Yes.
I'm to seek to introduce and admit the exhibit. No objection.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
And Your Honor, with the court's permission, may we publish that to the jury?
Yes.
Sir, again, what's up on the screen, do you recognize that as what's before you as the next exhibit?
I do, yes.
And if you could, again, Ms. Gilman, if I could ask you to scroll down to the green tabs. Okay. Now, if you could, sir, again, using that laser pointer, if you could direct the jury's, well, first, can I ask you, what is it that we're looking at in this exhibit?
Okay, this is a particular, what's called a stream within Knowledge C. A stream is basically all like information being grouped together. So in this particular case, the stream is related to Safari, and it's telling us what web page was visible on screen, what time it started and what time it finished.
Now, with respect to this particular tab, there are portions that are highlighted in green and portions that are highlighted in blue. Is that correct?
Correct.
Can you explain to the jury what the portions highlighted in green represent?
I highlighted the sections in green due to their timestamp. So typically these items last between 2:27:37 a.m. and 2:27:53 a.m. So around the time of the Google search, if you were to believe the browser state.
And with respect to the items highlighted in blue, what, if any, what are those?
The ones in blue are the actual Knowledge C records that show when the how long to die in the cold and the how long to die in the Kikti web pages were actually visible on screen.
Hell no.
And so from this, what, if anything, were you able to ascertain as to the searches or the time associated with the searches from your analysis here?
At 2:27:40, the only websites that were visible on screen were related to Ozone Basketball and Hockomock Sports, and that the How Long to Die in the Kikdi first appeared on screen at 6:23:56, and Hos Long to Die in Cold first appeared on the screen at 10:33 a.m.
So those two searches from your review of this extraction in this device never appeared on the screen prior to 6:23 in the morning, correct?
Correct.
Now, from all this, sir, what, if anything, were you able to conclude with regard to these searches?
So essentially, ignoring the browser state timestamp is important because that is not a reliable timestamp to show when that URL was visited. We have mobile Safari.plist record searches that show 6:23 and 6:24, and we show the same searches with very similar timestamps within half a second as showing up on screen in Knowledge C for the how long to die in the kickd. And the how long to die in the cold was actually several hours later, which took a little bit more explaining, looking at Knowledge C and when the applications were opened up.
Now, with respect to your view of the extraction of the device around these times, were you able to ascertain as to what time this particular device connected to a Wi-Fi sometime after 2 a.m.?
I actually didn't look at any Wi-Fi connection information.
And with respect to 2:27 in the morning, 2:27 a.m., what were the websites that the device had visible, and what were the websites that the device was connected to at that time?
So according to the Knowledge C records, which were mostly also reflected within the history DB as well, it was the Hockomock Sports, YouTube, Ozone Basketball, and that's it for the main domains.
Now, with regard to the Wi-Fi connection, is your memory exhausted as it pertains to that?
Yeah, I don't remember looking at Wi-Fi history.
May I approach?
Yes.
I'm showing you a copy of your report.
Thank you.
Review that and look up when you finish.
Okay.
And sir, I'm sorry. In the interest of time, if I could ask you just to look at the next page as well. Just briefly.
Really, 4 witnesses left? That's so. Oh, that's nice. I'm ready. Get the shit over with. I mean, this guy's really important, but. This person said there was no search for how long to die in the cold at 2:27. I hope people can get a refund on their shirts, signs, and other propaganda memorabilia. Those people made a killing on the merch. 27.
Okay. Does your memory refresh, sir?
I do, yes.
May I approach to retrieve
Yes.
So, Mr. Whiffen, from your review of the extraction report in regard to this device of Ms. McCabe's, about what time was the connected to a Wi-Fi network called McCabe?
I believe it was 0207. I didn't actually remember the timestamp just then.
And with respect to the disconnection from that, do you know when that was?
I can't recall.
Your Honor, if I may approach?
Yes.
I mean, if it's the time, Your Honor, may the witness.
Yes.
Thank you.
Bev.
Sir, if you can, from looking at your report, if you can just indicate to the jury as far as Wi-Fi connections with.
The Wi-Fi was connected at 0212 and disconnected at 0539. There was no further Wi-Fi activity until 11 a.m.
Thank you, sir. May I approach this to retrieve, Your Honor?
Yes.
Now, sir, are you familiar with something called a write-ahead log or a wall file?
Oh,
I am, yes.
And if you could explain to the jury what your understanding of that term is and how it applies in this specific case.
Yes. So a write-ahead log is essentially a temporary store for database pages. When I'm talking about database pages, it's not something that the user ever sees. It's part of the structure of SQLite databases. Just as chapters in a book can span multiple pages, data in a database can span multiple pages also, and it's not necessarily in the expected order. It's up to the database application to find those pages and order them correctly in order to display the data to the user. The WAL file, on the other hand, it still contains pages, but they're organized in frames, essentially. And a frame is the same as a page, but with additional information at the top that identifies what page it is. So I mentioned earlier that it's possible to have multiple versions of the same page within the WAL file. That's because every time I write a record to the database, a new frame is created and the page is updated. So for example, if I was to have a new database, create a record, a new frame is created with page 1, and it adds my record. As soon as I add a second record to that database, a new frame is created again. So I now have frame 1 and frame 2. Both of those frames would contain a version of page 1. The first frame would contain only record 1. The second frame would contain records 1 and 2, and so on. Forensically, where it gets interesting is on the edit or deletion of a record, because the same process is applied. So now a new frame is created. The page number is the same as previously, so we'd still have a page 1. But now only the records that I don't want to delete are copied across. So I could end up in a situation where I have 4 versions of page 1. One has record 1, one has records 1 and 2, one has records 1, 2, and 3. But the most recent version of the page only has record 1 and 3, for example. Now, a normal piece of database software will only look for the most recent version of the page, so you would only see records 1 and 3. The forensic software can look at all previous versions of the page as well, and that's how we're able to recover record 2 in that instance. And that's essentially how we were able to recover the browser state record from WAL.
So
I hope we get to the defense today. We have time.
Issue as far as deletion, what if anything? Well, let me ask you this first, just before we leave the WAL file. So, with regard to the WAL file, what if any relevance is there that certain data only exists within the WAL file?
So again, if I create a record that's in the WAL and delete it before it gets committed, which means when it gets merged into the main database, then it exists only in the WAL. It could be that it's a brand new record that just hasn't been written yet, or it could be one which was deleted from the database prior to the commit occurring.
When you say commit, what exactly is, what does that mean?
Commit's a process where essentially the database looks at all of the most recent versions of each page in the WAL file, copies them out from WAL and puts it into the main database, and then deletes the WAL file altogether. So at that point, we lose the ability to recover data from WAL because the WAL doesn't exist, but we have all the most recent versions of the page.
Now, so turning to the concept of the topic of deletion of data, what, if anything, did you find with regard to deletion of data with respect to this search as applied to the P list that you discussed before?
Recovering data that's been deleted from the P list is not really possible. So all we can say is if this record exists within the P list, it hasn't been deleted.
Now, same question with regard to issues of deleted data with regard to the history DB.
There was no records of any, there's no evidence of any records being deleted from history.db since early January. I think it was like the 3rd of January up to February 2nd.
And how were you able to tell that with regard to the history DB?
Again, every record is given a unique number. And there'd be a gap in that numbering system if a file or if a record had been deleted. The fact that there was no gaps indicates that nothing had been deleted.
And with regard to deletion, what, if anything, were you able to ascertain with regard to deletion versus web usage in the Knowledge C database?
Knowledge C contains such a large amount of different type of data that's always being added and deleted for various reasons, none at the discretion of the user. It's a completely system-driven event to delete information from Knowledge C. So we can't say what was deleted from Knowledge C, but we can see that during the times of Safari usage, records exist within Knowledge C that indicate, or certainly appear to indicate, that nothing was deleted.
What, if anything, were you able to find with regard to deletion in respect to the browser state DB database? Browser
state did have numerous records that had been deleted. Some we were able to recover. 3 records from browser state all had a timestamp very similar to 22740. These were 3 records that had been deleted at some point.
What are some of the options for deleting data from the browser state DB?
So the first most prominent option is to delete absolutely everything from the device, or delete all history from the device, which, as I mentioned earlier, we know that didn't happen because we still have other records. So the only other real option is to delete selectively. That could mean delete one at a time, and it could mean delete either the full day, the last 2 days, or the last hour. But in all of those cases, the record must exist in history.db in order to be deleted from browser state. The fact that this record, the host long and the how long today and the key don't exist within the history database would mean that the user would never have the option to selectively delete that record.
May I approach Sean?
Yes.
Thank you.
Sir, we can look at that. Something finished.
Yes,
Do you recognize that, sir?
I do, yes.
What do you recognize that to be?
So this is a list of the browser state DB records showing a red line where a record or more have been deleted.
And again, the term deleted, as far as it applies to this particular area of the database, what exactly does that mean again?
It means the record has been marked as deleted. If you were to read this database in a regular database application, you would not see it, but it doesn't necessarily mean that we can't recover it.
May I approach again, Your Honor?
Yes.
I'm going to seek to introduce and admit as the next exhibit.
The exhibit?
I have no objection to the exhibit, if that was the question.
That is the question.
Okay, we're good.
Okay.
Your Honor, with court's permission, may we publish Exhibit 622 to the jury?
Yes.
Again, sir, what's up on the screen, is that what you have before you as Exhibit 622?
It says yes.
And if you could, please, using the laser pointer, direct the jury's attention to what, if anything, that's significant to observe in this.
So again, we can use the number down the left side, which will identify the unique identifier given to each of these records. And we can see that the red line between the first 2 records indicates that records between 3986 and 3993 have been deleted. We can see that record 4001 is deleted. Records between 4004 and 4019 have been deleted. Record 4020 was deleted. And then finally, records between 4025 and 4031 had been deleted also.
Now, sir, as far as records 4024 and 4025, what, if anything, were you able to ascertain as far as the dates and times associated with those?
Yeah, so these particular records show up at 227.31 and 227.33 respectively, and this matched records within Knowledge C that showed that at this particular time when the tab took focus, that particular website was also shown visible to the user in Safari.
Now, as far as the date and time for 4024 and 4025, what, if anything, did you observe with respect to the date and time for 4026? And what can you tell about that?
So 4026 was approximately a second or two after the record here, 227.33. I believe it was at 227.35. And then again, there was another record, 4027, which again was another 2 or 3 seconds after that time. So within a 9-second period between 227.31 and 227.40, there were 5 records within browser state DB that had a timestamp within that 9 seconds, all with completely different types of website, ranging from PayPal, banking, YouTube, and the house long stay in the cold.
Now, sir, with respect to, are you familiar with the term called spontaneous deletion?
I believe so.
And can you explain to the jury what that is?
It's not a term that I would use, but essentially a cleanup operation would occur on the device where it would look for orphaned records, records that are old enough to not be required anymore, and they would just be deleted by the system without any direction from the user.
Now, during the testing that occurred, your testing, which occurred with respect to this device, what, if anything, did you observe with regard to spontaneous deletion?
I wasn't able to replicate the spontaneous deletion. I was able to replicate completely orphaned records. So a record that existed in browser state without a corresponding record in history.db. And it meant that there was no way for me to delete that record manually without deleting everything from the device regarding history.
May I approach, Your Honor?
Yes.
I really wonder how the testimony what the defense is going to bring in. They say they have some Google person coming in, right? Somebody was asking like, oh well.
Can we approach, please?
Okay, could you turn the lights on, please, Tommy? Thank you.
One person says here on Twitter, Lally asked two experts the same question about Google search instead of asking Google about what they have on their servers. When they bring Google, supposedly it's what they say they're going to bring Google. I don't know what they're going to say, but the reason for data extraction, I think people sometimes have a hard time understanding this. Again, I don't know what Google has on their end, but Sailbright, this data extraction, they're extracting what's on the phone, right? And specifically in this case from an iPhone. I don't know that Google.com controls what like tells iPhone, hey, you have to store this. You have to make your software to store these suspension times and this. I don't think they control that. Now on Google's side, I don't know on your account. I don't know if you delete your history, or well, it's actually she was on Safari, but using Google.com, I guess. I don't know. Like, I know they save your search history, but I don't know the logistics of that. But like, somebody's asking why, because this is the hardcore. Like, this is the data directly written on your device and how iPhone interpreted it.
You are
But
unmuted.
I'll see. I mean, I'm curious to see too what supposedly Google has to say.
All right, so you're introducing those 4 pages or whatever it is, Mr. Lally?
Yes, sir.
As one exhibit?
As the next 4 exhibits.
Okay.
And then he was saying that iPhone on the recent phone,
All
I
right,
guess.
so those will be.
I think on the 15, he said they changed it so the data is actually interpreted a little bit differently or something. But back when she had that phone, the way iPhone interpreted Safari or the data, like the opening and closing tabs and suspended tabs, that's how they did it then. Not sure what the only thing I could see maybe a Google person attesting you to is maybe how a search works and how it's saved or something. I don't know if they pull up her account.
Right. Were you going to publish those? Because you can go ahead and publish them while this is.
I don't think that's.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, great.
May I have just one moment, John?
Sure.
I don't know about Safari. I barely ever use Safari though.
Your Honor,
I feel
if
like
I can't take them just one by one, I think that might be.
Okay.
I'm showing you a document. You recognize that?
I do, yes.
What do you recognize that to be?
This is a report from my Artex tool showing the history database at 21:39:34 on the 27th of January and 22:55:09 on the 27th of January.
May I approach again, Your Honor?
Yes.
I'm going to seek to introduce the minutes of next exhibit.
All right, so all 4 are in. Okay, so you don't need to. You already marked them?
They have not been marked.
Okay.
Exhibit 623.
I have one moment, John.
I'm really curious about what their witness is going to testify to also because, you know, Safari, you don't have to log in.
Permission if we could publish that to the jury.
Yes.
Safari, you wouldn't have to log. Well, Google, I mean, you don't have to log into a Google search. So necessarily, if you're not logged in, they might not have your information. Maybe unless it's attached to like an IP. This is where like data extraction directly from the phone will tell you, okay, this person, this time, whatever.
Now, sir, with regard to this, we're looking at record number 4026. Is that correct?
I mean, you would assume she's the only one that has access to her phone at that time anyway, I guess. But
Yes, I believe we are.
I don't know what Google, if
And
you're not logged in.
again,
what
if
they
you
would
could direct the jury's attention to what exactly are we looking at in this exhibit with regard to record 4026?
Yeah, so in the right column, we see the source of the information. So history.db is the database. History_visits would be the table. And then the unique identifying number of 31407 and 31408. We see that the start time or the time that particular website was navigated to, according to history.db, was, as I say, both on the 27th of January, one at 21:39 and 34 seconds local time, and one at 22:55:09 local time. And both of these websites are related to Hockenmock Sports. We have the URL
Wendy, thank you.
at the top, followed by the title of the page, followed by a visit count
looks
that tells
smart.
us how many times that page has been visited before.
Thank you, Wendy. This is from 127, I think it said.
Sorry, one moment, John.
Yes.
Gracias, Wendy. I didn't see that earlier. Oh, there you go. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, you can. You don't have Chrome on your
That next
iPhone?
document, you recognize that, sir?
I do, yes.
What do you recognize that to be?
This is the same kind of report. This is related to the YouTube record that was part of the browser state database, related to It's Raining Men on YouTube.
It's
Is that
raining,
the record
man.
number 4027? Is that correct?
It is, yes.
Hallelujah.
Your Honor, may I approach again?
Yes.
It's rain. I remember that song when I was growing
Okay.
up. I am man, yeah. Stop the stand so bald, man. It's raining, man.
Yes.
Hallelujah. But you know what? I think a lot of, like my mother, for example, has an iPhone. She don't have Chrome on there. She uses, I don't think she has Chrome there. She just uses Safari. She has no idea what she's doing on that phone. Barely on the iPhone.
And sir, what's up on the screen now, is that what you have before you as the next exhibit?
It is, yes.
And again, if you could, using the laser pointer, just direct the jury's attention to what, if anything, of significance you observe in this record of 4027.
Yeah, so again, we have 5 records related to the YouTube video, It's Raining Men, starting at record 31398, 31399, 31400, 31401, and 31402. These were all accessed on the afternoon of the 27th of January 2022.
27.
May I approach again, Your Honor?
Yes.
I guess they're leading us up to the day of. I don't know, because that says
Another
127.
document, you recognize that?
I do.
What do you recognize that to be?
This is the same again, related to record 4029. Shows that a website was visited on the 28th of January 2021.
And Your Honor, ask that this be marked.
Okay.
Excuse me, as the next exhibit.
625.
Okay.
And Your Honor, with the court's permission, may we publish that brief?
Yes.
Well,
So she kept searching It's Raining Men over and over and over and over and over?
sir, what's up on the screen, is that what you have before you as the next exhibit in regards to record 4029?
It is, yes.
And again, if you could explain to the jury what we're looking at.
Yeah, so this URL, cantonma.org, relates to the URL that was provided in record 4029 of the browser state database. It shows that this web page was accessed at 1 p.m. and 17 minutes and 0 seconds, and 1 p.m. 17 minutes and 8 seconds on the 28th of January 2022.
May I approach again, Your Honor?
Yes.
I couldn't tell you if it's safe or not Safari. That I don't know. I honestly, on my computer with Chrome,
I do.
What do you recognize that?
I had so many
Again,
issues.
the same kind of report. Again, this time for record 4030 from browser state, and it shows access to Ozone Basketball.
And with regard to that report, as far as the same kind of report, that's from your tool, the ArtX tool, is that correct?
Correct.
And that ArtX tool, is that a widely available tool used within the field of forensic investigators?
Yeah, it's something that I say I've worked on for around 5 years. I've given it away free to the digital forensics community for 5 years. There's approximately 600 users globally, and it's taught as part of the SANS digital forensics training courses.
Thank you. May I approach again just to retrieve, Your Honor?
Yes.
I'll walk that as the markers. Next
Yes. Thank you.
May we publish that for the
Yes.
Your Honor? With regard to this exhibit up on the screen, record 4030, again, if you could just draw.
No,
the
she didn't.
attention,
Direct
direct
your
your attention to,
Didn't say
what, if
that?
anything of significance you observe in this exhibit.
Yeah, so again, we have records from the history database related to Ozone Basketball, and it shows that this website was accessed at 11 a.m. and 26 minutes on the 25th of January 2022.
May I approach, Your Honor?
Yes.
Is it really one? I didn't know that.
Just come in.
Yeah, I guess they're eventually leading us up to the search. I guess they're trying to show the previous searches, I guess.
Now, with respect to sort of the totality of your analysis, Mr. Whitman, what, if any, conclusions did you come to as to the timing of the two searches in question with relation to what you observed in your analysis and testing of this device?
Yes. So, in conclusion, I determined that the tab that was used was focused at 227.40. So the tab was opened at that time, at which point it was being used to show Ozone Basketball and Hockamock Sports websites. The 6:23 timestamp is when the search was first conducted. Never loaded the page, otherwise there'd be a record in the history database. And while that page was still loading, a secondary search was conducted for Hoss Long to Die in the Cold. Again, that page never loaded either, although these both did show up in the Knowledge C database to show that the browser was trying to display these pages. Safari was closed prior to the Hoss Long to Die in the Cold record being shown on screen at all. But when it was reopened at 10:33, in regards to whatever other Safari activity was to be conducted, it appeared on screen. So we have a 10:33 record where Hoss Long to Die in the Cold was shown on screen, even though the page never successfully loaded.
And with respect to your analysis and your testing here, what, if any, opinion do you have as to whether or not any of the data marked as deleted was actually user deleted, or a user actually actively went through the process of deleting the data?
Yeah. So again, we know that she didn't, we know that nobody deleted the entire history. So that leaves the only option to be selectively deleting records. The fact that there are no missing records in HistoryDB shows that it's impossible that that record could have been deleted by the user. It would have just been orphaned in the database, and I believe would have deleted itself at some stage whenever a particular cleanup function ran. Although, as I said earlier, I haven't been able to replicate that. I was able to continue to read the various versions of the page that contained Hoss Long to Die in the Cold browser state record, and found that it existed at the same time as another record that was created at least 2 days later. Therefore, I can determine that that particular record was not deleted until at the earliest 10 p.m. on the 31st of January. And that it's not possible that the user could have created or caused that deletion to occur.
Now, over the course of your analysis and testing, a review of the extraction in this case, did you have occasion to review an affidavit of a Mr. Richard Green?
I did, yes.
Oh,
And,
Richard Green.
What, if any,
That's the defense guy. Yes.
opinions or conclusions do you have as to that affidavit?
I had issues with several of the statements being made as part of the affidavit.
And what issues were those?
Namely, it specified that Cellbrite report identified that the search was conducted at 227.40. And as I've explained, I believe the tab took focus at 227.40, not when the search occurred. The report mentioned that Cellbrite report identified it was deleted by the user. We don't do that. We'll tell you that a record is deleted, but we don't specify how the record was deleted. That's something for the examiner to determine. I forget. Oh, and then there was a mention of the purpose of the browser state database. The explanation given was correct for iOS 14 and below, but not for 15 and above, which is relevant in this case.
Now, you mentioned this issue as far as coming up, obviously, in this case and some other instances, phone calls or inquiries that you received from Austria and other places. What, if anything, have you or your company, Cellbrite, done with regard to rectifying this issue?
Well,
I'll allow it.
okay, we recognize that this timestamp could be misleading. Regardless of how we label that timestamp, the very fact that a timestamp is there, we feel would be well, potentially misrepresented. So the decision was taken to remove the timestamp altogether from that information. So now we show the web page was visited, but we don't attribute a time to that purely because it could be wildly inaccurate.
Thank you. Your Honor, this may be the appropriate time for the instruction.
Okay. All right, so jurors, we're about to see a demonstration by Mr. Whiffen. It's simply a demonstration to help you to understand the evidence that you've heard. It's not evidence from this case, but it helps you understand the evidence in this case. You must decide this case based solely on a fair consideration of the evidence and nothing but the evidence. But this is a demonstration to help you understand that evidence.
Your Honor, rights are preserved, correct?
Yes.
Thank you. And so to that point, Mr. Whiffen, were you able to prepare a demonstration in regard to what you've been discussing through the course of your testimony?
I was, yes.
And that demonstration doesn't specifically reflect on the searches or the extraction report that you looked at in this case, correct?
Correct.
But as far as the overall issues that you've been discussing in your testimony, correct?
That's correct.
And with the court's permission, may the witness now illustrate that to the
Yes.
Okay. So first of all, on the left there, you can see a screen of an iPhone, and that is a phone that I have in front of me live. It's just demonstrating what I can see on the phone. This is my RTX tool, and the feature which I continuously use this tool for, which is not available really in any other vendor tools, is the ability to create a live connection between my computer and the phone. The live connection is what I've just started here, and what's going to happen is all of the files and folders that exist on the phone will be mapped to my computer so that I can navigate it. I can look around and I can take a look at near enough live records on the device. Prior to the availability of this tool, I would have to test a theory on a phone, do an extraction, and then pass the extraction, which could take anywhere between 20 minutes and several hours. The reason that I'm using this tool today is because I can do those same tests within 10 or 20 seconds, typically. So I just need to wait for this section to do. So it's already mapped out all of the files and folders. It's now asking for a few important pieces of information, which it will then populate on the screen. So information such as the device, serial number, etc. What we're interested in, though, is the browser state record. So I can go to the browser state database and take a look at that and open that up. And you can see that at this moment in time, I have no records in the database at all. If I go back into the live view of the phone,
oh shit!
You can see I have Safari open from last night. So it's been sat in the background overnight and not doing anything. But at 10 past 8 last night, I performed this search in a brand new window. So started Safari, opened up a new tab, immediately searched for new tab at 2010 on the 16th of June. If I now search for the time right now, 1442, what I can do is go back to my Artex tool and press this reload button. That's going to delete the database from my computer only and copy the most recent copy of the database and WAL file from my phone back to my computer, where it shows me I still have no records. That's expected behavior because at the moment I've not closed the tab. So if this, again, was iOS 14, there would be a record there to say what tab I had open, but iOS 15 doesn't work that way. If I now go back to my tabs and actually just close this window, I can go back into Artex and hit reload again. And we now see we have some records. I can look at this particular record and you'll see the title is 1442 Google search. You'll see the Google search record here. So I just need to change the time zone as well to Eastern time.
Oh, you changed the time zone?
So you can see it's the most recent search which I conducted, the 1442 search. The last viewed time, though, still shows as 8:10 p.m. last night, because that's the time the tab was focused, not the time that the search was conducted.
Thanks.
What about the delete?
Yes.
Replicate the delete.
Thank you, sir. I have no further questions.
Okay, Ms. Giannetti?
Sorry. That's the bomb. Okay, let's go. Let's see Yannetti. They should brought Alan Jackson back, but all right, let's see Yannetti. Let's do it. You got an hour.
Good afternoon.
Hour and 15.
Sir, you had spoken a little bit about what was your assignment here in terms of the data that was sent to you. And I believe that you testified regarding that 2:27 a.m. or 2:27 and 42nd a.m. timestamp that it didn't make sense to the investigators, correct?
Correct.
Were you told that one of the investigators was Trooper Michael Proctor?
I don't recall any names being mentioned. The ticket came to me, or the request came to me via another Cellbrite employee who'd been asked about this case and asked whether we could offer any help.
Okay, thank you. You would agree with me that when you're making or doing a simulation, you want it to be as close to an apples-to-apples comparison as you can get?
As best possible, yes.
And to get truly accurate research results, you want to eliminate as many variables as you can, correct?
Correct.
You wouldn't, for instance, want to use an Android operating system to try to replicate the activity from Jennifer McCabe's Apple iPhone, correct?
Correct.
What version of iOS did you use for your testing of Jennifer McCabe's data?
So this test has been undertaken on various different versions of iOS, from iOS 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, and most recently on the beta version of 18 last week. This particular demonstration was on 15.8.2.
Okay. And you're aware, you said 15.8.2.
Correct. I've also tested on 15.7.
Oh, fair enough. You're aware, however, that Ms. McCabe was using iOS version 15.2.1, correct?
Correct.
And you would agree that the way that an artifact is stored would depend on the iOS version that you use, correct?
Correct.
And your simulation did not use the iOS version that Ms. McCabe was running on her iPhone, correct?
Correct. I used the closest version I could find.
So I'd like to ask you some questions about the characteristics of browserstate.db-wall and record number 4028, if I can.
Okay.
That record number, I believe you testified, was found to be deleted, correct?
Correct.
But you were able to recover the date and time associated with it, correct?
The date and time of the last viewed?
Of that record number.
Yes.
And what was that date and time?
2:27 and 40 seconds AM.
You were also able to recover the content of that particular Google search itself?
I was able to recover the URL for it, yes.
Okay, and what was that Google search?
Long to die in the cold.
And it's true, however, that the session history could not be recovered, correct?
That's correct.
Now, given those characteristics that you've just discussed, did your testing result in a WAL file record, a WAL file record, that matched the characteristics of 4028? In other words, deleted with session history not recoverable?
The issue with the session history, I was able to recover only the first page of session history. What happens is when there's a large amount of data that's split over multiple pages, if it's a live record, all those pages point to each other so that you can chain it together and get one large amount of information. Once they've been deleted, some of those pages can be overwritten and therefore the pointers don't make sense anymore. So the amount of information in this session was way larger than one page, and I wasn't able to recover anything further.
Okay, and you'd agree that the simulation was done using a different operating system, correct?
Correct.
Were you able to recreate the other deletions that appeared before and after that record 4028?
Which deletion, sorry?
Well, you had testified, and I believe there was an exhibit that was introduced that showed that there were multiple deletions both before and after, correct?
Correct.
Were you able to recreate those deletions?
When I manually deleted records from the history, then the records also were deleted from the browser state.
Now, I believe that you testified, and if you didn't, I believe it's in your report, that there are essentially 5 mechanisms for record deletions in the browser state database, correct?
Correct.
You ruled out 4 of them pretty quickly, correct?
Correct.
And I believe you've testified to that today, correct?
Correct.
The only remaining option was selective deletion by a user, or there's some internal mechanism for record deletion that is not fully understood, correct?
Correct.
All right. And you know of, as you testified today, you know of no internal mechanism for record deletion that's not fully understood, correct?
I've not been able to replicate that function, no.
All right. If there is no unknown internal mechanism for record deletion that's not fully understood, that would leave selective deletion by a user, correct?
Oh, sure.
Not in this case, no.
All right. Well, selective deletion, you would agree, means that a user selects what to delete, correct?
Correct.
And regarding the user, the term user, what is that? Who is that?
Whoever's using the phone at the time.
Okay, so it's actually somebody who is using the actual iPhone itself, correct?
Correct.
Not necessarily a computer expert, correct?
Correct.
Would you agree with me that somebody who had access to the data before it was extracted and sent to you could have made selective deletions of the data?
Objection.
I'll allow that.
No, I don't.
Are you aware of an app called MySQL?
Yes.
What is MySQL?
MySQL is just a method for viewing SQLite databases.
All right. If someone had access to the raw data, again, before it was sent to you, and used that app, they could make selective deletions of the data, couldn't they?
I assume you're talking about opening up the extraction, taking out the particular file and editing it?
I'm sorry, I interrupted you. You're right, Your Honor. I apologize. And I apologize to you. If you could restate your question or answer or give me your full answer.
Okay. So it would be possible with the extraction to take out particular databases, alter them, and put them back into the extraction. But there's something called a hash mechanism that we have in place. that would
Keeps record of everything.
Essentially hashes the original
changed.
data, and then it can be hashed again at a later date. It results in a long string of characters, and if there's any changes to the original data, then we'd see that it's been modified.
Would you agree with me that someone with access to that data and an appropriate application or program could also delete and renumber history.db and knowledge.cso so that it would appear as though there was no break in the numbering, so that it would also appear that nothing was deleted?
No.
It's potentially possible, but would require a large amount of knowledge and skill to do in a way that can't be detected.
Well, the hash would be detected. That's it? Well, coming back.
Mr. Lally?
Lally, bring up the hash. Bring up the hash, Lally. Hash bros.
Any discrepancy between the iOS version in Ms. McCabe's phone and the iOS version in the demonstration that you did, what, if any, impact does that have on what you showed this jury?
So in this particular case, every iOS version that I tested, as I mentioned, from 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, the timestamp is always referring to the time that the tab took focus. So even though there are some differences with when the record's created, the meaning behind that timestamp has been consistent.
Now, what you were asking about what you were asked about in regard to selective deletion, you indicated that there's no evidence of that in this case. Is that correct?
Correct. Selective deletion would require that the record existed in the history database in order to be selected to be deleted. The fact that there's no missing records indicates it was never written into that database and therefore could not have been selectively deleted.
Now, the hash mechanism that you testified as far as detecting whether or not someone had surreptitiously gone in and deleted things, did you see any evidence of that in your review of the extraction of Ms. McCabe's phone?
I didn't have access to the hash information to see whether any changes had been made. That's something that the original examiner would have had access to. From my point of view, there was nothing in there that would indicate that tampering had occurred. The timestamps all made sense for the files. The historical pages all made sense. So it's probably possible, but it would take a large amount of skill to do.
Now, with regard to your analysis and your testing in this case, again, what is your opinion or conclusion as to when these two Google searches were conducted?
I'm of no doubt that the only time those two searches were conducted was at 6:23 and 6:24 on the morning of the 29th.
Thank you, sir. Nothing further on.
Prior to today, have you ever heard of spontaneous deletion?
It's not a term that I'm familiar with.
Thank you.
That's it.
All right, sir, you are all set.
Come back.
Thank you.
Do you need a couple
Spontaneous
minutes to
combustion.
finish this down?
They pulled that shit out. They pulled out spinach.
Thank you.
They pulled out the. Remember back in the day, we were talking about spontaneous combustion. I used to get scared about that shit. And they show like a toilet with a corpse on it, and they say you could just blow up and light up in fire at any moment. That shit used to scare the shit out of me. They pulled a spontaneous combustion. Oh, damn. On Wikipedia, it says that spontaneous human combustion without external ignition source is extremely implausible. The way they made it seem back in the day, like people just randomly just blow up in fire. Ah! And you just, I remember what, they showed some toilet or something. I think the toilet might have been a real story, but there's more to it. When I was like younger and shit, I used to scare the hell out of me. Incredible hacker. That guy knows his stuff. I noticed when they come up against people that are very knowledgeable in their field, they don't have too much to say to them. But it shows what the arguments are going to be on the other side, though. When they start bringing some other people, so it shows some of it.
In case they're here, the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. So help me God. Yes, sir. Thank you.
Okay. Continue now.
I'll look up that spontaneous combustion thing. Who's this?
Working with the state police, what, if any, prior experience did you have in the field?
Who's this?
I work for them.
Please state your name and spell your last name for the jury.
Yep, Nicholas Guarino, Guarino.
And how are you employed, sir?
I work for the Massachusetts State Police.
And how long have you been a member of the Massachusetts State Police?
This is my 9th year now.
Now, prior to working with the state police, what, if any, prior experience did you have in the field of law enforcement?
I was a local police officer in Norwood for almost 11 years.
Now, with respect to your role within the state police, where is it that you work now?
I currently work at the Norfolk District Attorney's Office.
And within the detective unit, is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
And with respect to that, what, if any, specialized role do you have within the detective unit attached to the Norfolk DA's office?
Yeah, I conduct cell phone forensics, computer forensics, and I also do sexual assault investigations.
Now, with regard to the electronic forensics, what, if any, specialized training have you received in that particular area?
I have about 300 or so hours at Cellbrite, CCO, CCPA, cell phone repair forensics, Berlin motor vehicle forensics, Axiom magnet, cell phone and computer forensics, X-Ways. These are all different programs used for cell phone and computer forensics.
Now, sir, at some point, did you become involved in the investigation involving the defendant, Karen Reed?
Yes.
And with respect to that, let me just ask you, at some point, did you become aware of an affidavit from a defense expert named Richard Green?
Yes, I have.
And sometime following that, did you have occasion to reach out to Cellbrite with regard to what had been posited by Mr. Green as in regard to two Google searches contained within Jennifer McCabe's phone?
Yes, I did.
And eventually, at some point, did you have occasion to speak with the gentleman who came in here right before you, Mr. Ian Whiffen?
Yes, I did.
And so that wasn't Trooper Proctor that had reached out to Mr. Whiffen or had any communication that you're aware of with Mr. Whiffen, correct?
No, I reached out after the defense expert's findings were released, and I read his report.
And did you also have occasion to review a report from a Miss Jessica Hyde?
Yes, I did.
And with respect to those two reports, what, if any, conclusions or opinions did you come to independently in relation to those opinions of Ms. Hyde and Mr. Whiffen?
Objection.
Sustained.
Now, Trooper Guarino, you had mentioned that you've had specialized training in regard to something called BURLA, correct?
Yes.
Could you please explain to the jury what BURLA is and how is it used in criminal investigations in your line?
So BURLA is a specialized hardware and software used to download the infotainment and telematics modules in a vehicle. So telematics module is basically like the SIM card for the car. And the infotainment system is your radio head unit that enables you to have Apple Play, CarPlay, or Android or Google Play for the vehicle.
And at some point, were you made aware of a search warrant that was authored in regard to seizing the infotainment system from Ms. Reed's vehicle?
Yes, sir.
And just so the record is clear, can you describe Ms. Reed's vehicle as far as what type of vehicle we're talking about?
Yes, it's a Lexus LX 570 SUV.
And specifically on February 2nd, 2022, did you have occasion to remove that infotainment system from the vehicle pursuant to that search?
Yes, I did.
And once that item was removed from the defendant's vehicle, what, if anything, did you do with it?
Motherboards of these systems, and we're able to pull the data. Or the other option, if that's not viable, is to do a chip off where I have to basically destroy the motherboard and take the memory chips off the devices to try to get the data that way.
Now, with reference to this specific device, what, if any, efforts did you undergo in order to extract the information without using the chip off?
So at the time that we pulled the system, it was not supported. I emailed BURLA and call them, see if they had a timeline of when this might be supported so we could get the data. We deemed chip off last support, as a last resort because it is a destructive process. So once those memory chips are taken off, the likelihood of trying to reattach them and get it to work again is very slim.
Let me stop you there for a second. When you talk about an item being supported, what does that mean?
Whether or not Burla has the ability to pull the data from that vehicle.
And how is that sort of determined, or how are you able to ascertain whether or not a particular vehicle, make, model, manufacturer is supported by the Burla device?
They have an app, and they also have their tech support. But if you put in the VIN of the vehicle, or if you don't have the VIN, you have the make, model, and trim level, like limited or XLE or whatever, you would be able to go in and look it up and basically say, Burla will tell you, yes, it's supported for GPS points, or it's supported for diagnostic data, or, whatever that they're able to get out of the vehicle. And they work with the automakers to get these, get this data. So.
And approximately how many different types of if we're looking at sort of the entirety of different makes and models of manufacturers, if you know sort of what percentage of those types of vehicles are actually supported and Burla can actually extract information?
I don't know as of right now. It's a lot, and they're constantly updating it, so they are able to do more vehicles as time goes on.
Now, at this particular time, as you sit here today, June 17th, 2024, the vehicle that the defendant was operating on January 29th, 2022, is that vehicle available or supported by Burla at this time?
The trim level that the defendant had is not still supported. There is Toyota and Lexus support now, but it's not, unfortunately, for her model.
Now, you mentioned that you had reached out to the Burla company for updates as far as the availability or when the defendant's vehicle might be supported. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And about how many times and over what time period are we talking about that you reached out to ascertain?
Immediately when I did the extraction, I should say extraction, but when I took the system out of the vehicle, I had to reach out to Burla because where it wasn't supported, they actually had to send me tech diagrams so I could go in and, again, not destroy the whole vehicle as I just took those components out. Over the next, almost 2 years, year and a half of going back and forth with them, with their support and their sales team.
And when you say going back and forth, about how often were you reaching out to them, or how often were you getting a response in regards to the Burla?
Usually every few months, I want to say every 3 months, give or take. I forget the exact number, but phone calls or an email to them asking.
Now, beyond that, are you familiar with a national cyber crime conference?
Yes.
And do you attend that on an annual basis at least?
Yes, I do.
And with respect to that, what, if any, time at those conferences did you spend dedicated to ascertaining the availability or the supportability of this vehicle with reference to Burla?
So Burla has a booth at the National Cybercrime Conference. I spoke with their sales team there. Their response was to keep calling Burla, keep pestering them, and they might actually get the support sooner than later.
And again, were you ever able to ascertain or get the support to download the information from them?
No, unfortunately.
Now, at some point, were you able to download any information from that particular infotainment system from the defendant's vehicle?
Not from the infotainment system, but Burla released a new item similar to a mechanic scan tool. It plugs into the OBD2 port, which is underneath the dash. So we're basically, if a mechanic went in there with a scan tool to tell you why you have a check engine light, this does something similar. So you plug it in, and then it pulls the car diagnostic data from that.
And as far as the data that you received from that, what, if anything, did you observe?
Again, I got a series of 14s was the numbers. It was no readable data. I reached out to Burla and asked them, I said, is there a reason why it pulled this data, but when I put it into the software, it's not telling me anything. It's not given me any readable data. And they said they know it is diagnostic data, but they haven't got anything from Lexus to say these 14s, these codes mean this. They only know it as emissions.
So was Burla itself able to read that information and transform that sort of binary code into any sort of readable data for you?
Other than the number 14, no.
Now, from there, what, if anything, did you do with regard to the Burla and the defendant's vehicle?
Was placed back into our digital evidence lab, and then we did eventually do a chip off to the device.
Now,
I should put devices.
with respect, to the chip off, that was done sometime in December of 2023, is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
And again, if you could expound upon a little as far as, can you describe for the jury sort of the chip off process, why you were reluctant to do it, and what's entailed in it?
Yeah. As I said before, it is a destructive process. As soon as we do it, we take those memory chips off. It's applying extreme amounts of heat to the motherboards to take the memory off. That'll heat it. You lose a lot of the soldering and capacitors, anything that's on that motherboard. So, like I said, once the memory chips are taken off, it's going to destroy the board.
And as far as that chip-off process, who, if anyone, was present with you, or who, if anyone, assisted you in removing that or conducting that chip-off process with regard to the motherboard from the entertainment system from the defendant's vehicle?
I'm sorry, at the time that we actually did the chip-off?
Yes.
Yeah. It was myself, AG Speak, and Maggie Gaffney.
And who is AG Speak?
AG Speak is has his own forensic company, I guess you could call it, for Burla. I could consider an expert in the field, former California Highway Patrol officer that exclusively handled stolen cars.
And who is Ms. Gaffney?
She was the defense's expert. She's the one who actually did the chip off, applying the heat and taking the chips off in our presence. And she, I believe, works for, I'm sorry, the name of the company escapes me at the moment.
Now, with respect to the information that you, Ms. Gaffney, and Mr. Speak were able to remove pursuant to that chip-off process, what, if any, usable information were you able to glean from that?
As I was told by AG, there was no data that was recovered off the infotainment system or the telematics module from the chip off.
And as far as Ms. Gaffney, did you have any conversation with her as far as the information that she was able to glean or read or decipher from?
No, once she did the chip off, I have not spoken with her since.
Have a moment, John.
Yes.
Now, Marino, at some point in late January, early February 2020, were you provided with some a laptop and/or desktop computers from the home of Mr. O'Keefe?
Yes, I was.
And what, if anything, did you do with those?
One was a Dell laptop, the other was a HP all-in-one desktop. I removed the hard drives from both systems and used...
Objection, may be seen, Your Honor.
Okay.
somehow everybody's sick but me. I don't know what's going on, bro. I'm like, I guess we'll see. I took some timestamps today. I'll probably, I honestly don't feel like doing ish because I did feel like I was getting sick. My body just felt weak, but then it kind of, I don't know, it was really weird. Like I said, I just felt some chills Saturday, Sunday, but I still feel a little kind of like, but so far I haven't come down with anything. Baby girl went down, I had to take her to the ER. Girlfriend's out of the count too, sick, and I'm here. But yeah, I took a few timestamps. I might make a little tweet for later, just to clip some of the highlights. Some people are really in denial. There was one person I saw two posts that like blew me away. Like in the same picture, they're completely taking what this guy said, in a whole nother way. And they're literally taking screenshots where it said deleted, and that said, oh, he said a whole lot of nothing. And they're using Cellbright's information to discredit Cellbright. And when they came here and explained how the system and everything works. But, I mean, I don't know what you're going to do, bro. I don't know. But, yeah, right now we have this guy, Nick Grano. Understand? Maybe, Purple, maybe I need like a Chava. Chava, bro. Carly, oh, that would be really helpful. I took some timestamps today. I figured I can clip some of this stuff and put it together. Try to make it short but concise. No Twitter, keep it short. Then I'll post it. And maybe I'll be nice today. I was just kidding about the nice. Friday I was going hot. People were really upset. They're still tweeting about it today. They're like, I'm unsubscribing. I don't know. My Twitter following has actually grown though. A little bit. Not a lot, just a little bit's grown. But, man, I can't wait till we get to the end of this. The end of the road. I mean, I'm sure everybody's anxious and waiting,
You are unmuted.
It's kind of shocking and almost scary, Carly.
All right, Mr. Lally, you can continue.
So, Trooper Garino, there was a Dell laptop and an HP Pavilion all-in-one desktop, correct?
Yes.
These were taken from Mr. O'Keefe's home, is that correct?
Yes, they were.
What, if anything, did you do with respect to those computers?
As I said, I took the hard drives out of both machines. They were imaged, and the images were loaded into Axiom to view the data that was on them.
Now, when you say something was imaged, can you explain to the jury what you mean by that?
It's a bit-for-bit copy of the hard drive. Instead of us turning it on and going through it, which would change data, by taking the hard drives out and imaging them, it creates a one-for-one copy, so that way we can view it without changing anything in the system.
And you mentioned a tool called Axiom, is that correct?
Yes.
And can you explain to the jury sort of what is that Axiom tool and how does it work?
Yeah, it's another forensic tool that we use. Can do cell phones, computers. You'll use it to load the images so we can view the data.
And with respect to the imaging that was done with regard to the Dell laptop and the desktop, what, if anything, was it that you were looking for specifically on those devices?
We were looking for Ring video to see if either computer was used by Officer O'Keefe as a login machine to handle the account.
And from your review of what was extracted or imaged from each of those two respective computers, what, if any, information were you able to glean in reference to Ring.com or anything else?
Neither computer was used. One appeared to be used mostly by the kids, and the other, I believe it was the laptop, was used mostly by O'Keefe, but there were no Ring logins.
As far as the Ring connection, what, if any, devices were you, throughout the course of the investigation, were you able to ascertain were actually connected to the Ring cameras at Mr. O'Keefe's house?
Officer O'Keefe's cell phone.
Now, if there were any other devices, whether they were Mr. O'Keefe's or someone else's, ascertained from either the
Painting?
Ring footage or the information provided by Ring, whether or not there were any other devices beyond Mr. O'Keefe's cell phone that were linked to that account?
Not that I know of.
And I'm sorry, just not that there weren't any devices or not that you could tell?
Not that I could tell or that I ever heard of.
Now, Trooper Garino, let me ask you some questions just in general about a cell phone extraction. You familiar with that term?
Yes.
And can you explain to the jury sort of what is involved in that and how a cell phone extraction is performed as far as your experience with regard to investigations that you've been involved in?
Yeah. So most investigations, we get the cell phones from the scene, from a suspect, from a victim. They're put into airplane mode to preserve the data, so that way a remote wipe can't be sent to the phone from iTunes. If we can't put it into airplane mode, we'll put it into a Faraday bag, which blocks the cell phone signal. And then it's brought back to the lab and put into a Faraday box, which is has electrical outlets inside of it, so that way we can keep the phone charged.
And with regard to this investigation, you involved in the extraction of data or the examination of extracted data from any particular phones?
Yes, I did John O'Keefe's phone, Karen Reed's phone, and we had 2 witnesses' phones, but I don't remember doing the extractions themselves.
But as far as the data from those phones, have you had opportunity to look at that data? And specifically, I'm asking about both Jennifer McCabe's phone and Ms. Carrie Roberts' phone.
Yes, I have.
Now, were you also at some point provided with some material from Brian Higgins' phone?
Yes, I saw screenshots of text messages.
And from the material that you were provided with reference to Mr. Higgins' phone, were you then able to cross-reference that eventually at some point with respect to the information in both Ms. Reed's phone and Mr. O'Keefe's phone?
Yes, I was.
From what you reviewed, was the information contained within the material provided by Mr. Higgins, was that consistent with what you observed in Ms. Reed's phone as well as Mr. O'Keefe's?
Yes, I didn't see any differences in those messages.
Now, with respect to starting with Ms. Reed's phone, that was received by you on January 29th, 2022. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And do you recall about what time it was and where you were when you received that phone?
I want to say 6 or 7 o'clock at night at the Norfolk DA's office.
And who did you receive that phone from?
Trooper Proctor.
And with reference to that phone, what condition was it in at the time as far as you referenced airplane mode, Faraday bag, things of that nature? How was it sort of when you received it?
I believe it was in airplane mode.
Hey, Remy, I'm applying now.
Phone was in good working order. And it was placed downstairs in our lab plugged in to keep the phone battery charged.
Now, the same with respect to Mr. O'Keefe's phone. When and from whom did you receive that, and what kind of condition was that in when you received it?
I also got that from Trooper Proctor, the same time as Miss Reed's phone. Same condition.
Now, with respect to the defendant's phone, at the time that you received it, did you have any passcode or any way to get into the phone?
I'm sorry, whose phone?
Miss Reed's phone.
Oh, no. The software we use to try to bypass passwords to be able to extract the evidence, I should say the extraction of the data to look for evidence, her phone at that time was not supported.
Now, what, if anything, did you do with her phone in regard to that?
Again, made sure it was in airplane mode and just kept it plugged in until such time as the phone was supported, and then we could download it.
Familiar with the device called the Gray Key?
Yes.
And can you explain to the jury what that is and what, if anything, you did with regard to the defendant's phone and the Gray Key device?
Yep. So Gray Key is, again, specialized hardware and software used to plug in the phones, can do Apple or Android phones to bypass passwords.
And how does that sort of function, or how does that work as far as when you hook something, a cell phone or a cellular device up to a Gray Key tool? What is it doing and how does it work?
If I knew that, I'd be a millionaire, but it basically installs software onto it, and instead of when you put in 10 passcodes to an iPhone, on the 10th one, if it's wrong, it kills the phone forever. This has some secret software that's able to bypass that and basically keep hitting the phone with passcodes until it finds the right one.
So it essentially runs a bunch of different combinations of passcodes into the phone until it comes up with one that actually opens the phone.
Yes, that's correct.
And at some point, did the Gray Key device actually break into the defendant's phone?
Yes, it did.
You know about when that was in relation to when you received it?
Yeah, so we got the phone in January. It took, I believe support came out in, I want to say May or June. I don't remember the exact month, but we didn't actually get the passcode until August 16th of 2022.
And once that passcode was actually broken into by the Gray Key device, then you're able to look into the phone, is that correct?
Yes, once the passcode's obtained, we download the data, and then we're able to take that extraction data and then open it up in Cellbrite or Axiom or whatever tool we're going to use to view it.
And the tools, as far as you're referring to, Cellbrite and Axiom, are you familiar with those tools through your course of your work as investigator with regard to electronic devices?
Yes.
And if you could explain to the jury sort of when you say Cellbrite and Axiom, as far as then tools are concerned, how do they work and sort of what is it that you do with the device with reference to Cellbrite?
So what do we do with the extractions once we go to open them?
Well, how is the information extracted, first of all, and then what, if anything, do you do with the map?
So Gray Key will pull the extraction. It just, once the code's received, it again uses its software, pulls the data out, puts it into an encrypted, it's MD5 or SHA. It's a encryption key that has, it's a unique key that, so if you changed anything inside that zip file, it would change the encryption number to show that something was tampered with. We take that encrypted zip file and we open it up in the software, and that's able to say, you know, the call logs, the chats, the photos, the whole timeline of the phone.
Now, in addition to yourself, is there anyone else that works in this sort of capacity within your unit at the district attorney's office?
Yes, 2 other people.
And who are those 2 other people?
The director of our lab, Samantha Vogt, and Trooper Connor Keefe.
Now, beyond yourself, Trooper Keefe, and Ms. Vogt, anybody else from the detective unit, as far as the troopers, would they have access to these devices, being the defendants, Mr. O'Keefe's, Ms. McCabe's, or Ms. Roberts?
If they're in the digital evidence lab, no. Once the data is extracted from them, normally we give them back to the investigator or return to family. So that would be the only time that they would have access to the devices, or unless we kept them in the lab for just for, I don't want to say safekeeping, but just for storage reasons.
Now, with reference to your review of any of the extractions related to any of those 4 devices, at any point in time, did you observe anything in reference to any information being taken off or deleted from any of those devices at any point in time?
No, sir.
Now, with respect to Ms. Reed's device, the defendant's device, it was sometime in August of 2022 that the Gray Key was able to break into the passcode and get into the device, correct?
That's correct.
And so then, once an extraction is done, that's then subsequently reviewed by someone within your unit, is that correct?
Yes. So again, normally the investigators for the homicides know far more information about the crime and what occurred. So if need be, I'll load the phone up for them. They can go through it because they know what they're looking for. If they ask me, I'm happy to go through. If they can say, you know, I'm looking for calls between this time period, or, you know, GPS locations, things like that.
Now, with reference to the defendant's phone, at some point were you made aware that there was some privileged information contained within her phone?
Yes, I was.
So as a result of that, what, if anything, happened with the phone from there?
We notified our supervisors, and we did not look at her extraction until the privileged communications could be removed, and then we could, again, go back and re-inspect the data.
Now, as far as that whole process that was undertaken in regard to that, how long a time period, or when was it that you were able to have the privileged information extracted and then actually get to look at the defendant's phone?
Took months. I don't think we got it back from the AG's office until later, I don't know, springtime of 2023-ish.
Now, with respect to the extraction from each of these four respective devices, that being the defendants, Mr. O'Keefe, Ms. McCabe, and Ms. Roberts, what kind of tools were used to conduct those extractions, sir?
Gray key, Windows 10, and then Cellbrite Physical Analyzer and Axiom, their program, Magnets program.
And so as far as, I guess my question is, as far as the different devices that are used, why are there different devices, and what is it that say one does versus the other?
So they both do great work with, decoding the data. I've noticed that Axiom does a better job at pulling GPS spots because it gives a speed and a estimated range of how strong the GPS signals are, as opposed to Cellbrite. They give native locations, but they don't have that extra data with it. So I like to look at both tools to make sure that I'm seeing everything that I need to.
Now, with respect to the defendant's phone, you at some point reviewed the extraction from the defendant's phone, correct?
Yes, I did.
And with respect to that phone, what, if anything, did you observe with regard to GPS locations associated with that device?
I didn't see that many, maybe a handful showing different spots in Canton, but nothing that stood out to me.
Now, with respect to your review of the phone, what, if anything, were you able to ascertain as to whether or not those GPS locations were allowed or permitted or turned off or on by a user?
I can't say. I didn't see anything, like I said, that stuck out to me. Normally, if the GPS points aren't there, then location services are probably turned off.
So what I'm asking, though, is the...
I don't know where Lally's trying to get, but also this kind of helps the whole... That one person that testified and said, oh, she didn't have her GPS on. Well, it doesn't seem like she has it on that often, I guess.
The device itself was capable of retaining that data as far as GPS locations, correct?
Yes, if it's turned on.
And there were no real GPS locations to speak of that you observed in your review of the extraction of the defendant, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Now, with regard to Mr. O'Keefe's phone, what, if anything, were you able to ascertain from that as far as GPS locations were concerned?
There's quite a bit, especially on January 29th.
Oh, okay.
Now, sir, before we get into that, if I could ask you some questions in regard to Ms. McCabe's phone extraction. You had occasion to review that, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And so, in regard to that also, you had mentioned that you had reviewed an affidavit from a defense expert or defense witness named Mr. Richard Green, correct?
That's correct.
Oh, Green.
And based on your review of that, what, if anything,
tickle tits.
Based on your review of what Mr. Green said or did, what, if anything, did you then do with regard to Ms. McCabe's phone?
So I basically went point by point through his report to confirm or deny if what he was placing in there was true.
And what, if anything, were you able to ascertain or learn from going through Ms. McCabe's phone with reference to what Mr. Green stated?
Objection.
I'll allow that.
It was mostly incorrect.
And when you say mostly incorrect,
oh no!
what
Time
was
stamp.
mostly incorrect?
Time stamp.
So he states that there's a Google search that's done at 2:27 in the morning. That immediately stuck out to me because when I went back and looked, that file that was parsed was not from the database that should have showed searches. This came from the session state tabs for Safari, which is a big red flag. It also came from a wall file, which is a dropping ground for where data is put before it's actually put into the main database itself. And then once it reaches a certain point, that data is automatically deleted by the device, not by a user, which Mr. Green had stated that a search was done and then it was purposely deleted.
Chill, just chill, man.
There was also items regarding phone calls being deleted. Again,
But
they came from a wall file. Looking at it, again, it's stored in the knowledge seed, the main database. It's also stored in the biome, showing in the extraction, which is another storage area that Apple is using. Again, nothing, most of the stuff that I was reading in his report was either incorrectly, I don't know, written down, or he's interpreted it incorrectly.
Wow.
Now, with regard to the phone calls or the contacts that Mr. Green indicated were user deleted or deleted by the user, what, if any, information did you look in regard to that? What, if any, did you ascertain in regard to that?
Yeah, so he stated that Ms. McCabe had deleted 18 phone calls from the morning after John O'Keefe's body was found. Looking at the data from her call log, those calls, while they do show marked as deleted, again, they come from the wall file and they're also located in 2 other parts of the database. Again, as a user of an iPhone, you can't go in and just delete these files. They're handled by the operating system. It's impossible.
So as far as, what, if any, opinion do you, well, let me ask you this first. As far as a wall or writing a log file, can you explain that, what you understand that term to mean to the jury as it pertains to these particular items?
Yeah, so as I said, these files are dropping ground. So when you're using your apps, using the phone, it takes that data, puts it into this wall file until you either close the app or you shut down the phone, or it reaches a certain number of data in the phone. That wall file will automatically delete from the phone. So this can be on a first in, first out basis. Again, like I said, it could be when data reaches a certain level, but those calls that are being marked as deleted, Celebrate seeing, it doesn't mean the user deleted them. It just means they're being removed from the wall file.
And you indicated that from your review of the phone extraction, there were other areas or other databases, bases, within the phone that contain that same information? Yes.
So the main database of the iPhones is the Knowledge C database. They're also using Biome, and then if you're using the newer software now, it's another area I won't bore you with, but depending on the iOS you're using for the phone, it's going to depend on where that data is being stored.
Now, specifically with respect to Ms. McCabe's phone, one of the contentions Mr. Green had was in regard to a contact for Brian Albert. Is that correct?
Yes, that was another one.
With respect to that, what, if anything, were you able to find within Ms. McCabe's phone in regard to contact information for Brian Albert?
Yeah, so Mr. Green's report said that he located a deleted screenshot of Brian Albert's contact. That was in her phone. The contact for Brian Albert was still in her phone, not deleted. So I don't know, maybe she just deleted the screenshot.
Now, with respect to Ms. McCabe's phone, what, if anything, did you do with regard to the call log history in Ms. McCabe's phone?
I exported it all out to a PDF so I could view it. And again, like I said, there's, I think, 1,104 phone calls from going all the way back to October of 2020, I want to say. And phone calls, FaceTime, they're all, the calls are there, all the records, and they're all stored in different areas of the phone. The only ones that show the wall file deleted were the ones from the 29th going up to the end, towards the end of the day on the 29th.
And now, with respect to the call history, where or how is that typically stored within an iOS device?
I believe that's stored in the call stored SQLite database.
And with reference to what, if any, difference storage-wise is that SQLite database versus the wall file?
So again, that database where the call logs are sent, it's going to have a corresponding wall file where the data is going to be put temporarily. And then, as I said, it gets automatically deleted by the iOS, by the operating software. It's not user enabled.
And so from your review of those 1,104 phone call history records containing traction of Mr. McCabe's phone, what, if any, opinion do you have in regards to whether or not those items were deleted by any user?
I don't believe they were. And I will say one of the phone calls was from the actual main call stored database. That could have been user deleted but again, it's in two other spots in the operating system. So I don't know how or why the iOS stores it the way it does. And then marks what.
Now, sir, from your review of the 4 phone interactions that you reviewed in this case, were you able to export or print certain chat reports from specific people's phones or from specific people's phones with other individuals?
Yes, I was able to.
And Your Honor, may I approach?
Yes. Yes.
Joe. Yeah, like a forensic. B-O-G.
Sir, I'm showing you what's been marked as Exhibit 48.
Okay.
You recognize, excuse me, do you recognize that, sir?
Yes.
And what do you recognize as?
The first page is Facebook Messenger chats between Karen Reed and John O'Keefe.
And what's contained in there, is that a fair and accurate portrayal of what you observed from the extraction from Mr. O'Keefe's phone?
Yes, it is.
And specifically with reference to those chats between Mr. O'Keefe and the defendant, you also reviewed that material from the defendant's phone as well?
Yes, I did.
Material that you reviewed from the defendant's phone, is that consistent with what you observed in Mr. O'Keefe's?
Yes, it is.
Your Honor, with the court's permission, if I could request certain portions of what's been marked as Exhibit 48 being published to the jury as we go through them.
Okay.
Sir, if I could just start you out on page 1.
Okay.
Ms. Gilman, if I could have that up on the screen. Now, with respect to what's up on the screen, the portion that you can see, do you recognize this, sir?
Yes, I do.
Now, we have before you as Exhibit 48.
Yes.
Now, within this particular, from the perspective of this is from Mr. O'Keefe's phone, is that correct?
Yes, it is.
So there will be blue bubbles and green bubbles, is that correct as well?
Yes.
And so who, as far as the blue bubbles are concerned, who is speaking in that?
The blue bubbles will be from Ms. Reed, and the green bubbles are from Officer O'Keefe.
Now, Ms. Gilman, if you could please scroll down. Now, with respect to what's contained on this page 1 at the bottom, if you could read the date and the time and indicate who is speaking and what is said there, sir.
Yeah. So The blue bubble is Karen Reed and 1/28/2022 at 3:30 p.m. Hello. John says hi at 3:35 p.m.
Sorry, may I approach, Your Honor?
Yes.
Yep. Those are the Facebook ones.
I'm sorry.
You heard whispers?
What's contained in Exhibit 48 is the entirety of the chat report from Mr. O'Keefe's phone, correct?
Yes, I believe so.
Okay. May I approach, Your Honor?
Yes.
My apologies. Showing you another document. Do you recognize that?
Yes.
What do you recognize that to be, sir?
These are the native chats, native messages from John O'Keefe and Karen Reed.
So these are just specifically broken down as far as the chats between Mr. O'Keefe's phone and Ms. Reed's phone, correct?
Correct.
And as far as your review of both of the extractions from both of those phones, the material contained within Mr. O'Keefe's phone is consistent with the material contained in the defendant's phone, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Your Honor, may I approach?
Yes.
I will proceed to introduce the witness in this exhibit. Okay.
Okay.
There's a lot of messages.
627.
Yes. If that could be returned to the witness, Your Honor, if we could, with the court's permission, if we could publish that.
Yes. Go right ahead.
And now, Trooper Carino, do you recognize what's up on the screen as the next exhibit, sir? Ms. Gilman, I'm sorry, if you could scroll down just a little bit.
Yes.
And again, from this first page, if you could, the blue bubble is from Ms. Reed, is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Being from Mr. O'Keefe, is that correct?
Yes.
And if you could, again, read from this first page as far as date, time, who is speaking, and what is said.
At 9:49 a.m., Karen says, "You've really hurt me this time." 10:02 a.m., "I'm sorry. This is, sorry, it's kind of hard to read. I'm sorry, this has been an issue with me for 8 years. It physically hurts me to see everyone else in their life do things for them, and I'm forced to always be the bad guy."
This is 128, by the way. 2022.
At 10:09 a.m., Karen says, "I am not the same as everybody else. Most of the time I try to do what is healthy/smart for them. More importantly, I try to support you and what you need. You just lashed out at me and said terrible things. I don't know how you've gone to this point with me when I'm just trying my hardest. You made your point and continue to beat me down. I have a lot going on too. Physically, I'm falling apart and trying to get answers and help."
If I could stop you there, sir. If I could direct your attention to... My apologies. Sir, if I could direct you to page 5.
Okay.
I'm sorry, bottom of page 4.
All right.
And starting with the blue bubble on the bottom of page 4, again, if you could indicate as to who's speaking, what is said, and the date and time.
Yeah. Karen says to John at 1:21 p.m. on the 28th, "Maybe you can call someone."
If you could continue on and through page 5, sir.
On the 28th at 1:46 p.m., John says, "Like who?" On 1:47 p.m., "What time are you coming here?" And then there is, at 2:05, there's a message but no content.
And the next message at 2:06, sir.
Yes, 2:06 from Karen. "I don't know what time, feel kind of out of it, just trying to clear my head." 2:06 p.m., John writes back, "Okay." 2:06 p.m. again, Karen says, "Text me later when you guys settle in later." Text me when you guys settle in later. John says, sure, at 2:06 p.m. again. Karen says at 2:16, I feel pretty shitty about this, feel pretty shitty about how this morning went down. I know you said sorry, but it really stung, especially when I've been trying pretty hard lately. I feel like a loser turning around, just coming back over after everything you said.
If I could ask you to continue on to page 7, sir.
Don't come back.
At 2:17 p.m., John says, not sure what else you want me to do. I said I'm sorry and I was out of line. If you prefer to stay home, I totally get it. Karen replies back at 2:17, things in my own life have been difficult too, you know. John writes back at 2:17, I know. At 2:25 p.m., tell me if you're interested in someone else. Can't think of any other reason you've been like this. From Karen.
They always do that.
You could continue on to page 8, sir.
At 2:25, John responds back, nope. Things haven't been great between us for a while. Ever consider that? That was at 2:26. At 2:29, he writes, kids are here, not in the mood to talk.
And how does the defendant respond to that at the bottom of page 8?
So you're not into it anymore. That's fine, but I don't want to keep trying, and you keep treating me like this. At 2:29 p.m.
If I could direct you to the next page 9.
Yep. Ms. Reed says, I'm trying to hug and kiss you this morning, and you whack me in the face with a pillow. At 2:29. At 2:30, she says, last night you're basically like, yeah, what about? When we talk about the future. So why don't you just admit you're not into it so much anymore? At 2:30, oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
I said 2:30, John says, not how it went down, but okay.
Now does Ms. Reed respond to that?
Can you please admit your head is out of the game with us?
And if you could, sir, please continue on to the top of page 10.
Okay. At 2:32 p.m., sick of always arguing and fighting. It's been weekly for several months now. So yeah, I'm not as quick to jump back into being lovey-dovey as you apparently. From John. And then John again at 2:32. Oh my God, stop calling.
Okay, stop you there for just a moment, sir. With regard to January 28th,
How many calls?
you were also able to extract a report specifically in regard to calls received by Mr. O'Keefe on that date.
Yes, I was.
I mean, on that date into the next date of January 29th.
Yes.
I approach, Your Honor.
Yes.
Oaks, meanwhile, she's texting a whole nother guy.
Here we go. Sabrino showing him a document.
Okay.
You recognize that, sir?
Yes, it's John O'Keefe's call log.
And that's the entirety of the call log from January 28th into 29th, is that correct?
Yes, from 20th at 9:19 a.m. to the 29th at 6:03 a.m.
May I approach, Your Honor?
Yes.
I'm going to seek to introduce the next exhibit. No objection.
Okay.
Aaron looking too close. Like, damn, how many times did our calls got?
May I approach again, Your Honor?
Yes.
We're now showing you another document. Just ask you to review that, look up when we finish. And do you recognize that, sir?
Yes, this is Karen Reed's call log from January 29th at 12:33 a.m. to January 29th at 6:03 a.m.
And those are specifically calls between the defendant and Mr. O'Keefe, correct?
Yes, that is correct.
May I approach again, Your Honor?
Yes.
I'm off to seek to introduce the minutes of next exhibit.
No objection.
Thank you.
Now, Trooper Guarino, from the text messages that you were just testifying from, Mr. O'Keefe indicates OMG stopped calling at 2:32 p.m. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct.
Now, from your review of those call logs, how many times did the defendant call Mr. O'Keefe on January 28th from approximately 9:19 a.m. to about 2:58 p.m.?
There's 18 calls from 9:19 to about 2:59 p.m.
Those calls are listed within those records as various as far as rejected or missed or answered or things of that nature. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct.
How many of them are rejected?
11.
How many of them are missed?
4?
It's not too
How
bad
many are
compared to some of
answered?
these.
3.
That's a lot, but still. Or 100 calls.
Now, following that text message at 2:32 p.m. from Mr. O'Keefe to the defendant asking her to stop calling him, does the defendant keep calling him?
Yes, she does.
And at some point, does Mr. O'Keefe call Ms. Reed back?
Yes, at about 3 p.m. on the 28th. Double check.
Thanks. May I approach, Your Honor?
Yes.
Mr. Guarino, I can take each of the call logs, but I want you to keep hold on for a second.
Okay.
Now, sir, if I could turn your attention back to page 10 on the text messages with respect.
Okay, so, Mr. Lally, when you put your head down and when you walk away, we can't hear you. And so there won't be a record of this, so you have to keep your voice up.
I will be, Your Honor.
Not too bad.
Well, you just said, you just put your head down and your voice went down. So
wow.
keep your voice up. It's really important you do so.
Trooper Guarino, turning your attention back to page 10 of these text messages, would read from Ms. Reed's response to Mr. O'Keefe at 2:32.
Yes, so 2:32 p.m., she says, why would you start with me this morning? And then followed up by 2:33, you're setting me up to fail.
If I could turn your attention to page 11 and ask you to continue from there.
Ms. Reed says, you start a number of fights from your end. John, and that's at 2:33. At 2:33, John writes back, I've explained it a few times already, not doing it again.
And how does the defendant respond to that?
So you're not into this anymore. And then John says, not into fighting all the time, correct. That's at 2:34 p.m.
If I could turn your attention to the top of page 12.
Yes, 2:34, Ms. Reed says, if you tell me you're interested in someone else, you will never hear from me again. You can.
She's so desperate for him to call it off or whatever. Maybe she can feel better about herself about Brian Higgins. She's desperate to keep with this shit over and over.
Space in the world. John writes back, but there's no content at 2:34. And then at 2:34, she says, then stop starting with me.
How does Mr. O'Keefe respond to that?
At 2:34, he writes back, I'm not answering, stop calling.
And if you could, if I could turn your attention to the top of page 13.
Ms. Reed says, can you please answer after how you treated me earlier? John responds back at 2:35, Kaylee is right here. Ms. Reed says, you're starting a rager with me out of nowhere, and then you tell me you're sick of fighting with me at 2:35. She writes at 2:38, I'm going to grab a drink in a bit.
If I could direct you to the top of page 14, sir.
She says, can you answer please at 2:38? He writes back at 2:39, no, Karen, not sure why you need to announce that you're going drinking, but have fun.
That's crazy.
Karen writes back at 2:40, seeing if you want to meet me later. Can you please call me right after that?
This is another
Again, if I
side.
could direct you to the top of page 15.
John writes back at 2:40, have to take him to the doctor. He has practice. Sri writes back, yeah, 5 minutes. John writes back at 2:43, my father just walked in. Aaron writes back, okay, can you please call me for 2 minutes at 2:44?
The top of page 16, sir.
2:44, John writes back, not right now. Aaron writes back, I'm there when anyone else needs me at 2:44. 2:46, yes, John, you gave me utter grief this morning. I'd like you to call me for a minutes.
And the last one from that page, sir.
Yeah. 2:47, I've been trying to get over the hump with is arguing, and now you tell me you're not into things. And if you don't want to fight weekly, but fly off the handle at 8 a.m. with me, like you're setting me up to fail.
Sir, if I could draw your attention to page 42.
Okay.
And sir, if I could ask you to start reading from the top of page 42.
Yep. At 7:41 p.m., Karen writes, okay, let me know if you end up leaving. John writes back at 7:42, why? Now you're not coming? Karen writes back, I'm waiting for the plumber. Actually think he's in the driveway. 7:42. John says 7:43, we're taking Mike's car, so I'm relying on you for a ride home if he leaves. Karen writes back at 7:43, he's not going home after. John writes back at 7:43, 8 on a Friday. He may have to get Michael. And you have a plumber coming over at 8. Knowing me and Papa could have handled it. Good luck. And that was at 7:44.
Thank you, sir. If I could direct your attention to page 49.
What kind of plumber is that? Special plumber? I'm just kidding.
Okay.
If I could ask you
Plumber.
to start from the page of 49, page 49.
Down the
sir.
road.
8:29 p.m. Yeah, but he lives right down the
Let's get the plumber's text messages.
road. John writes back at 8:30. Karen, this storm is going to be intense. Can't drive. 8:30. She writes back, okay, well, if he can't, he can't. John writes back, I'll do it Monday. Karen responds at 8:31. Ha, I better not still have this problem on Monday. John writes back, plan on being there. Aaron writes back at 8:32. I'd like to know I could take a hot shower here if I need to. John writes back, figured you'd be in Canton until Monday.
If I could direct you to the top of next page, 51.
John, I'm getting off my phone. Let me know what you're doing. Karen writes back at 8:33. I think the four of us together is toxic to this relationship. Would like to limit it. And says, you've said so yourself for probably a year now. And John writes back at 8:33. Blizzard tomorrow. Nobody is going anywhere.
Sir, if I could direct you to the top of page 52.
Okay. Karen says, maybe I'll come back late tonight. Bad snow is in the early a.m. That's at 8:35. And again, 8:35. I'll head up there in a few minutes. Let me know if you leave. John replies back, sure. And then the next one's not until 12:55 a.m. on the 29th. I'm going home.
And the I'm going home is from the defendant.
Oh.
55 a.m., is that correct?
Yes, that is correct.
And if I could direct your attention to the top of page 53.
Yes, 12:55 again. See you later. At 1:02, your kids are cucking alone.
Oh.
1:29, 1:04 a.m. I'm back in Mansfield. The kids are home alone.
Thank you, sir. May I
Bruh.
approach the retreat?
Yes.
Bruh. What time they're going till today? 4:30? Oh,
Can I
maybe
see
it's
counsel at sidebar about scheduling?
Bruh, Cynthia.
You are
I mean, I don't know if you're asking about a text recap, I can do that. But today was so much stuff. You'd have to. This is the second stream for today, but it's John and Karen. Almost forgot her name. Karen arguing back and forth. You know, kind of going back and forth. They were having issues, relationship problems. It seems like for a while, It wasn't just like this, out of the spur that they just had a problem that day. Having problems for a long time. And John said they had been fighting a lot. I'm reading some of the highlights here online. And he wrote to Karen, like, please stop calling me. And she called me 18 times from 9:18 a.m. to 2:58 p.m. 18 calls, 3 were answered. I found it kind of really weird, that bizarre, just the text of like, I'm leaving, because the whole story is that
With this witness, but can we go until 4:15? I know it's been a long day, but does that work for you all? All right, thank you very much. So why don't we do that? And then I'll
try to get everything done today. I don't think she liked the kids either. She said it in another message,
You are
and she said it
unmuted.
again. I mean, I can understand it's overbearing too, I guess. Trying to argue.
May I have one moment?
Yes.
Today we had a really a bad witness this morning. Then we had 2 good, was it 2 or 1?
Yes.
I think 2 good expert testimonies. Really, the Cellbrite guy was really good, the first guy.
Now,
And now we're getting the text messages. Coming up, Plumber.
Trooper Garino, you were also able to get some chats as well as some phone calls between the defendant and certain individuals. Is that correct?
Yes.
And may I approach her?
Yes.
They're arguing back and forth. Clearly like a toxic relationship. But the whole weird, your kids are effing home alone. Your kids are at home. Would John have left his kids like that without talking to her? Was that a usual thing? Like, let's say if he goes out for the
Now
night.
can you recap at end? Late view on West Coast. These texts sound sad and scandalous.
Let's say he goes out for the night. Does he normally not have arrangements for his kids, or just assumes Karen's going to do it? Why wouldn't he text her back anything at all? Is Karen trying to say he walked inside and immediately had a fight and they killed him immediately? That's why I couldn't reply. Thanks so much for the 20. The text messages just started a little bit ago.
Okay.
And he said, leave me alone. And she kept
And do you recognize those, sir?
Yes,
then he
I
hangs
do.
out with her later.
And what do you recognize those to be?
The single page is Karen Reed to Laura Sullivan phone calls, or I should say, calls from Laura Sullivan to Karen Reed, and the other one is Karen Reed and Laura Sullivan's chat messages.
What's contained in those documents, is that a fair and accurate portrayal of what you were able to extract from the defendant's phone?
Yes, sir.
May I approach again, Your Honor?
Yes.
I'm want to seek to introduce the minutes and next witness. No objection.
Okay.
No.
Well, they were trying to portray that everything was
Thanks.
fine down there, right? In the
Perfect.
video, everything
We'll
looks
watch
fine.
your replay.
And everything was perfect with them, but clearly behind the scenes, it wasn't. There's so many times people take a picture, people do a video, and it's a smile. We gotta just do this moment, smile. Or if you had a fight with your partner, and then you gotta go to a family dinner, and you just gotta like, fuck, we gotta, I don't know what they were doing that night, but clearly they were having issues behind the scenes.
May I approach, Your Honor?
Yes.
Karen. I wonder if tomorrow's a full day. What's waiting for us tomorrow? Wednesday, no trial. Just a reminder again. Wednesday, no trial. It's getting hot. A little bit hot, caliente. No text messages.
From your documents, sir. You recognize that?
Yes, these are Karen Reed and Erin O'Keefe phone call.
And what is contained in that, is that fair and accurate portrayal of what you observed conducting the extraction of the defendant's phone with regard to the communications with Erin O'Keefe?
Yes.
May I approach again, Your Honor?
Yes.
I want to see you introduce the minutes and consider.
Okay. There's no objection, Ms. Giannetti, right?
Tomorrow's a fought deer all day. No, Purple, don't say that. Wait, hold on. That was Lindsay said that. No.
6:32.
I'm very sorry, Madam Court Reporter. Your Honor, may I approach the witness?
Yes.
I'm showing you what's previously been marked as Exhibits 51 and 52. That's if you recognize those.
Yes,
are
these
they streaming
phone
tomorrow or
calls
no?
from
They're
Karen
probably
Reed
streaming,
and
huh?
Katie Camerano. And 52 is chats between Karen Reed and Katie Camerano.
I approach this to retrieve, Your Honor.
Yes.
That sounds about right. Tuesday's voir dire day and Wednesday.
Contained in those Exhibits 51 and 52 is that a fair and accurate portrayal of what you observed during the extraction of the material from the defendant's phone?
Yes.
May I approach again, Your Honor?
Yes.
So showing you what's marked as Exhibits 94 and then 95.
Yes. Sorry. They are chats between Karen Reed and Jen McCabe, text messages. And 95 is Karen Reed and Jen McCabe phone calls.
And again, what's contained in those records before you is that a fair and accurate portrayal of what you observed in the defendant's phone during the course of your extraction of materials from her phone?
Yes.
I approach to retrieve, Your Honor.
Yes. So these are already in evidence, Mr. Lally, so that you don't need the fair and accurate depiction.
Come on. Rescue Reaper on X. Okay.
May I approach again, Your Honor?
Yes.
Oh, that's interesting. Oh, that's interesting. Oh, I'll show that. That's a pretty cool rendition that this person made. But this is a rendition of what the theory is.
John O'Keefe was hit by...
I'll play it after. The side swipe by the fire hydrant. Hitting the arm, flies up in the air. And they're saying it's impossible because of what? Oh, okay.
Juris, you know what? I'm going to send you home. Okay? So I need to see counsel at sidebar for just a minute to figure out the next 2 days.
You are muted.
Well, some people agree with the description of what the... Let's see.
Mel just sent you video on X that shows how she hit him.
I think this person did a good video. I think this is what the prosecution or the constructionist is trying to say. But this video is saying that it's impossible to do, I guess. I'm just going to play the beginning part. I think it's on somebody's YouTube, but I'll play the beginning stuff.
Authorities believe John O'Keefe was hit by Karen Reed's car. It caused him to be thrown through the air, tumbling in such a way that when he hit the ground, he hit his head, causing serious injury.
But to be fair, though, I think the guy said it was, well, I think he said that is his theory. I thought he said there was multiple things that could...
They showed some evidence of a broken taillight and some personal items of John's found at the scene. Looking at a model to illustrate the injury...
Well, it's kind of hard to tell a distance, because I thought by the fire hydrant there was only one piece, and then the other fragments would have been closer to this area by where his body was. I can't tell the distance there.
Injuries. We heard in testimony that John sustained injuries to his arm, the eyes, and the back of his head. Let's look at the injuries to the arm. As a vehicle backs into John, we can see how the taillight would strike the side of his arm, breaking into sharp pieces and cutting him. Moving to this dent indicated in red, it's believed that this is where the glass John was holding hit.
You are unmuted.
But you won't be. All right. So it's very important that you don't watch TV or listen to anything, or read about anything. So we will be here tomorrow. Wednesday is the federal holiday, so we're not in session. I know there's supposed to be some big heat wave this week. I really appreciate that everybody dresses respectfully for court. I suggest you come in comfortably. It's an old building. The air conditioning's been great today. I don't know that will hold up.
Show it to the flip-flop.
When really pushed. So feel free to dress comfortably. We'll plan on seeing you on Thursday. If that changes, the court officers have your contact information. But we're planning on seeing you on Thursday. All right, so please, those 3 cautions: do not discuss this case with anyone. Don't do any independent research or investigation into this case. If you happen to see, hear, or read anything about this case, please disregard it and let us know. We'll see you Thursday night.
All rise for the court, please.
All aboard! We reached the end of the day. All right. So tomorrow, I'm assuming the voir dire will be... I'll get back to the video. The voir dire, I guess they're gonna stream it tomorrow. Assuming. The only thing that sucks about...
Just follow out behind them. Okay, thank you.
The only thing that sucks about voir dires potentially is that, like, we're gonna watch everything tomorrow, then we're gonna have to rewatch it all again with the jury there. Yeah, that's the only thing, but it still can be interesting. Voir dire. Boom, 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 boom. Let me set up the stream. I'm kind of waiting to see if they're gonna come back and say anything or they're done. Karen. All right, I guess we'll play. See if they come back on. Hear ye. Okay, so just take it back a little bit.
Injuries to the arm. As a vehicle backs into John, we can see how the taillight would strike the side of his arm, breaking into sharp pieces and cutting him. Moving to this dent indicated in red, it's believed that this is where the glass John was holding hit the vehicle and shattered. Here's a photo of the prosecution's belief that this dent represents where the glass had hit the vehicle.
That's cool. See.
Continuing with the prosecution's theory, John is hit and thrown into the air. When he comes back down, he strikes the back of his head, causing serious injury. This type of head injury will cause black eyes, commonly referred to as raccoon eyes. All of this seems possible, but there's a lot of missing things that don't make sense. For instance, the lack of injuries being shown here in red. You would expect to see many injuries, some on the hips, the elbows, the shoulders, and the rib cage. Especially if your ribs and arm were hit with such force that you were knocked out of your shoes and thrown 20 feet to the ground. It's also the lack of evidence on the clothing. There's no abrasions, scrapes, tears, or stains that would indicate sliding on the ground.
I don't know why. Oh, the shirt. Yeah, that was the medical people that ripped the shirt, I guess. I really don't know. I mean, it's hard for me to speak on any of this. I like this is cool video though to see this. And so she's saying that the missing injury is to his like side.
See you tomorrow.
I guess they're done. Hulk said he was run over and had no bruises. That lady, I wish I could show you guys the video. That lady, I don't think every situation is going to be the same. Or like, I mean, obviously not, but I'm telling you, that one lady in Cali that got hit, this chick flew. I'm talking, she flew. she had some broken ribs. Which
Hey there, Karen Reed,
hurts,
trial watchers. This is
obviously.
another law.
But that was it. She actually walked home. And then her family's like, oh, you're crazy? You need to go to the hospital. So they sent her. But all right, let's see. So they said this parts of the body.
For instance, the lack of injuries being shown here in red. You would expect to see many injuries, some on the hips, the elbows, the shoulders, and the rib cage. Especially if your ribs and arm were hit with such force that you were knocked out of your shoes and thrown 20 feet to the ground.
Let's see. I mean, I guess this is kind of assuming too. I don't know. Did the reconstructionist say he was standing like this, waiting for the car to hit him? Because I'm wondering, like, is it possible, like, maybe he got reactive and like tried to move out of the way, and so like, I don't know, he literally had his hand and his arm, but like trying to move out the way. But I would still think it hit his side, though. I don't know. All right, let's see what else they said.
Shown here in red. You would expect to see many injuries, some on the hips, the elbows, the shoulders, and the rib cage. Especially if your ribs and arm were hit with such force that you were knocked out of your shoes and thrown 20 feet to the ground. It's also the lack of evidence on the clothing. There's no abrasions, scrapes, tears, or stains that would indicate sliding on the ground. I personally question that a glass in one's hand could cause this pattern of dents and chipped paint. After all,
I also think they were trying to argue to you earlier, like, oh, how do you know this is not wear and tear or whatever? It's interesting.
The hand surrounds the glass like a layer of padding, and the speed is no more than tossing a softball 12 feet into the air and letting it hit the ground.
Huh?
Lastly, this is presumed to have happened at 12:40 a.m. At this time, Jennifer McCabe was diligent in seeing John O'Keefe, standing at the front door and watching for him. Even seeing him, she texts him to park behind her.
I don't know. I'd have to check that timestamp out. The recreation is dope, though. I like this. That's pretty cool to see. Straw hat shoe. The only thing is about this recreation is what I was saying. Like, this doesn't. I thought that guy, the way he had his map, it was like one. Am I thinking of the right thing or not? Yeah. I thought he said it was like one chip by the fire hydrant. I'd have to rewind back today and see. I just want to look at the picture. This guy was a trip, though, wasn't he? Oh, shit. Yeah. See, the thing to me, so I it's hard for me to tell the distance too in this video because of the angle, the way it's edited and stuff. So I don't know, but she has all these fragments by the fire hydrant, and that's not what was presented today in court. Even the defense didn't present that. The defense presented. Why is it so dark? Oh,
it's a 10-foot scale.
The defense presented one little chip, literally, that was found by the fire hydrant, and then back here is where you have these pieces all over the place. I don't know when they made that video, this Twitter video. Apparently it's a YouTube video, but that's one of the first things I noticed. Like, the fragment pieces aren't accurate, but maybe that doesn't matter. Like, maybe to the point where we're just talking about how he was hit. Yeah, Carly. I don't want to play it here because they will. The last time I uploaded that video on YouTube, they age restricted it. And actually, the one that I uploaded was, let me see, woman hit during police chase. I want the unedited version because, and I actually cleaned it up. Oh, here it is. This video is age restricted too. Okay, listen. If you have Discord, I'll put it in Discord for you. Or I don't know if you want me to email it to you, or if you're on Twitter, you want me to. Oh, actually, I could post this. I don't know if I want to post it on Twitter, but this shit. Yeah, weird music. It literally hits this lady with force. Oh, it's so crazy. She flew by pretty hard, and she hits a curb, but she walked away though. All right, I'll put the link on. I'll download it. You guys can check it out. It's a different kind of car action, of course, but just to show that, like, I mean, you could really play it on either side, really argument, because she walked away, but then later and went home, but then later said she had broken ribs. I'm sure somebody talked to her, but like, yo, you could probably sue or the city or whatever. All right, so let me just set up tomorrow's stream. It's gonna be a Valdir day, which I'm kind of like not really looking forward to too much because I don't know. We're gonna have to sit again another day and watch. I wonder if it's gonna be a full day tomorrow. We might have to sit a whole day and rewatch the same thing. They had to do that during Alex Murdoch trial. I think it happens sometimes. I think we've had it in this trial at least once, a little bit, not long, a short testimony. Oh, really? Try to get his bond reduced again? I thought he already had that court hearing. They denied it. He said so. He was saying something about his medications and like he's you know. I don't know why. I'm trying to make a stream for tomorrow. It's not opening or working. That's weird. Hello? Maybe it's a sign or something. Don't do it. Let's try again. Vardia. Yeah, Queen. there was this one person that made some commentary. I think he was a reporter, and he was like, "If whatever side you're on, whether well, you think she did it or you think she did it, um, he was saying it's just going to be up to the jury, which I think we all know that. People just feel strongly about it. We all know at the end of the day. They say sometimes you really can't tell a jury. Who knows what they're going to go for. All right, my stream thing's not working for some reason. All right, I'll create the stream later on. Maybe I'll have to restart the computer. Thank you guys so much for the super chats today, the members, everybody watching today. I think there is a lot of variables too. Tickle Tits 9 months and happy Monday all. Hope you're having a good start to the week. Elisa Joy, thank you for the 10. Cynthia, thank you for the 20 and the 5. Thanks, Perfect Mel. We'll watch your replay. Today, I think the parts to watch was this guy was really tough. I mean, if you want to watch a shit show,
Beautiful.
You can watch that. But if you're slow on time, you're busy, you got shit to do. This guy was good. The Cellbrite testimony, he was good. They took a lunch break. He was kind of the most of the day. And then this guy is interesting when he gets to the text. I think it's interesting. They were talking about the data, Carly. I know you mentioned too. I think in Murdoch they had problem with car data, right? Or they had some of it. They talked about that it can easily be destroyed once you extract it. I think that's what happened with this guy, and I saw them on Twitter talking about like, who does that? Who does that? That never it never happens. He was denied. Okay. Folks said, I mean, if I killed someone in my house, I'm not dumping it in my front yard. I wonder. Let's say, yeah. If we go with the theory, people are saying that guy, Chipper Nekarano, when he whispered, I stepped away. They think he said, "Kill me." That's the world of Twitter saying that now. Uh-oh. I blame Mel and his Twitter for chat going bonkers. All right. I'm gonna head out for now, man. Thank you guys so much for today. We'll see what tomorrow brings. Vaudeer Day. Vaudeer Day, I think it's supposed to be the animal. The guy for the defense, I thought, testifying that it was an animal that bit him. I think, I don't know. Oh, some people thought Karen said it. Shit, I don't know. Oh, Lindsay said, I think Twitter now decided that Lally said it under his breath. Lord almighty. All right. Oh, wait, timestamp. The long crime timestamp or my timestamp? I can't even find this shit now. Does nothing want to work? 1:58:11.
Calculations that would be required to figure out how far a body at rest would move, having been struck by an object in motion.
Right.
That's a basic principle.
Yeah, I guess you could say though.
All right. Can you describe for the jurors exactly what calculations you would need to employ to determine how far a body at rest would travel, having been struck by an object in motion?
So, in this scenario, in this collision,
Well, this is definitely not it. So you're talking about minus. It's the last guy, right? 158. I gotta go to my stream, I guess. It was the last guy. 158. Okay. 11.
That was. This is related to.
How's that to be?
This is the same kind of report. This is related to 398, 31399, 31400, 31401, and 31402. These were all accessed on the afternoon of the 27th of January 2022.
27. Okay.
Airport Junior.
Yes.
I guess. Oh, right there.
On the afternoon of the 31402. These were all accessed on the afternoon of the 27th of January 2022.
27. Okay.
Airport Junior.
Yes.
So I talked as they said it.
2022.
27. Okay.
Airport Junior.
Yes.
What the hell was that? I don't know. It was like somebody under their breath. Or was it just somebody breathing?
2022.
27. Okay.
Airport Junior.
Yes.
I get
22.
27. Okay.
Airport Junior.
Yes.
I guess they're leading us. So you're able to see the guy up to the day of. I don't know, because that says
The
127.
documents, you recognize that?
I do.
What do you recognize?
The URL that was provided in record 4029 of the browser state database. It shows that this web page was accessed.
Hey, that man. I don't know. It was right before the text messages on the last guy. Tell me where you are. Tell me. Oh. What the hell? It must have been further up.
read or decipher from
That
process.
to me at the moment.
Now, with respect to the information that you, Ms. Gaffney, and Mr. Speak were able to remove pursuant to that chip-off process, what, if any, usable information were you able to glean from that?
As I was told by AG, there was no data that was recovered off the infotainment system or the telematics module from the chip-off.
Oh, maybe it's this part?
And as
It's further along? Maybe it's further along. I got up again.
The data is going to be put temporarily in operating software. It's not user.
1,000 missed by any user. What, if any, opinion do you have in regards to whether or not those items were deleted by any user?
I don't believe they were. And actually, I will say one of the phone calls was from the actual main call stored database. That could have been user deleted but again, it's in two other spots in the operating system. So I don't know how or why the iOS stores it the way it does. And then marks what.
Now, sir, from your review of the 4 phone extractions that you've reviewed in this case, were you able to export or print certain chat reports from specific people's phones or from specific people's phones with other individuals?
Yes, I was able to.
And Your Honor, may I approach?
Yes. Yes.
Manager. Yeah, like a forensic. BOG.
Sir, I'm showing you what's been marked as Exhibit 48.
Okay.
People are saying there's somebody that said, this guy said, kill me. And so people are going crazy on Twitter now.
You recognize, excuse me, do you recognize that, sir?
Yes.
And what do you recognize as?
The first page is Facebook Messenger chats between Karen Reed and John O'Keefe.
And what's contained in there, is that a fair and accurate portrayal of what you observed from the extraction from Mr. O'Keefe's phone?
Yes, it is.
And specifically with reference to those chats between Mr. O'Keefe and the defendant, you also reviewed that material from the defendant's phone as well?
Yes, I did.
Material that you reviewed from the defendant's phone, is that consistent with what you observed in Mr. O'Keefe's phone?
Yes, it is.
Your Honor, with the court's permission, if I could request certain portions of what's been marked as Exhibit 48 being published to the jury as we go through them.
That's supposed to be it, that whispering, or it's after? Oh! It kind of does look like he said it, I can't lie. I can't, his lips move right at the moment in time. Oh, hell no. Let's get can we get a closer look on Leroy? Hold up. Some people saying they thought it was Karen. Oh. Tomorrow morning, everything's gonna be a mess. Oh. All right, hold on, let's take a look. Bro. Why would he say that? Jesus. So, like,
Kill me.
His lips and everything moves with it. And then he like moved.
Yes, it is.
You reviewed from the defendant's phone. Is that consistent with what you observed in Mr. O'Keefe's?
Yes, it is. Kill me.
Your Honor, with the court's permission, if I could request certain portions of what's been marked as Exhibit 48 being published to the jury. I could request certain...
Kill me.
That's so weird. The only thing too, after he says, it looks like he says "kill me," but then I can't with this trial, man. But then after it's like there's another sound like. Man, they're gonna go crazy over this shit. Haven't they been looking at Twitter? Jesus.
Kill me.
Your Honor, with the court's permission, if I could request certain portions of what...
Was it Lally? Maybe it was Lally, but his lips move at the same time, no? You think it was Lally in the mic?
Your Honor, with the court's permission, if I could request certain portions of what's been marked as Exhibit 48 being published to the jury as we go through them.
Okay.
The court's permission...
Kill me. Kill me.
But the weird thing is like after you hear the kill me, that's like
Kill me.
Your Honor, with the court's permission, if I could request...
what's that? After kill me. Jesus. Woo. Oh man. All right. Very relatable. Is the witness in distress? The other guy almost cracked this morning. I thought he was gonna have a breakdown. You think it was Lally? The only thing is, like, I see his lips moving at the same exact time. I think sometimes some of these witnesses too don't realize maybe how powerful that mic is. They have that mic turned up, and so there's not really filtering. I guess it has a little sponge thing, but that thing is cranked up, and so when they're like breathing, you hear them breathing, Bev sighing and stuff. And so this guy, it's just a weird thing because if I was, I don't know, I'd probably just say it in my head. I'm not sure why he thought like dodging to the side a little bit.
Certain portions of what's been marked as Exhibit 48 being published to the jury as we go through them.
Okay.
48.
Kill me.
I can't, bro. Years of carrying. This thing has been, this trial needs to move along and get to the end. And everybody get some rest and a break and shit. All right. Jeez. It was the prosecution still that was talking to me. The defense hasn't gotten to him yet. Oh man! All right, I'm gonna call it that. Thank you for calling that out, guys. That was actually pretty funny. Oh Lord. Peace. Bye. Love you guys.